Chapter 1232. Yi Hua saw the struggle within Dong Huangfei's eyes, then said with a slight smile, Dong Huangfei, you don't have to be nervous. What about my wife? She has the purest bloodline of Dong Huangfei. And the reason why I came over this time is to seek justice. A pure bloodline. These words exploded in the ears of all the disciples. How was this possible? Other than the patriarch, who else could have the purest bloodline? You guys don't seem to believe me. Baiji, show them what purity is. Wait. Dong Huangfei shouted. Why did he have to stop them? If Dong Huang Baiji were to release her aura in this place, everyone would definitely know about it. He couldn't take the blame for this. His mind was in a mess now, and he had to think it through properly. Wan was so scared that she was trembling. They actually caused trouble like this. It was too careless. Why do we have to wait? Yi Hua asked gravely. Why don't we talk in private? Dong Huangfei did not want to blow up this matter, and he wanted to settle it himself. Initially, Yi Hua wanted to go straight to the heart of the matter, but he suddenly thought, it's good for me to chat with them. The most important thing is to know what exactly is going on. It was better to figure it out. Yi Hua nodded his head, and only then did Dong Huangfei let out a breath of relief. Please. Dong Huangfei appeared to be slightly more polite. Yi Hua was also the kind of person who wouldn't slap a smiling face. Thus, he brought along his wife and subordinates and walked over. Dong Huangqingru was stunned. She couldn't help but shout, Great God? What about me? Follow me, Yi Hua said faintly. This person is still somewhat useful. I will keep him by my side for the time being. Dong Huangqingru exclaimed that she was lucky that she wasn't betrayed by the great God. Dong Huangfei didn't say anything, and he immediately sealed off the inner layer. Dong Huangfei sat at the center of the hall, and Yi Hua didn't care too much about it, and sat at the side. Dong Huangqingru, serve the tea. Yes. Everyone just sat there and no one spoke. Dong Huangfei sized up these people. Other than this man and woman, there were two other men and a woman. The woman seemed to be quite frightened. She was even trembling. As for the two men, one was fat and the other was skinny. They looked like they had lost their minds. Therefore, there were only these two people who had battle power. That woman seems to be very strong. As for this man, it felt dangerous, but it also felt like he was a gigolo. He must have gotten close to this woman to give him advice, in order to achieve his own dirty plan. What a vicious man. It seemed like he still had to start with this woman. Looking at her unwilling look, she was forced by this man. Dong Huang Baiji? Yes. Dong Huang Baiji nodded her head. Dong Huangfei said with a steady tone, Miss Baiji, don't be afraid. Since you are here, no one will dare to do anything to you. Yi Hua and Dong Huang Baiji. This sentence should be reversed. It should be that we won't do anything to you, right? Looking at Yi Hua's shocked gaze, Dong Huangfei sneered in his heart. Were you still able to control the situation in the past? Miss Baiji, if you have any difficulties, you can tell me. Yi Hua said gravely. What exactly are you talking about? I want to ask you. How could my wife have a pure bloodline? Call your family head out. Dong Huangfei frowned and laughed. Don't be impatient. I will naturally inform the clan master. However, I still need to ask a few questions. Of course, I'm not asking you. Yi Hua didn't say anything. Excuse me. Dong Huang Baiji asked. You are a member of the East Emperor family. Why are you wandering outside? Dong Huangfei asked confusedly. Without waiting for Dong Huang Baiji to say anything, Yi Hua said faintly, I will have to ask you all about this. Why was my wife framed? Dong Huangfei wished that he could give Yi Hua a kick. However, he didn't have a clear understanding of Yi Hua's strength, so he didn't dare to act recklessly. Miss Baiji, what is your purpose for coming here this time? Dong Huangfei asked lightly. Dong Huang Baiji said in a low voice, My main purpose for coming here this time is... Before Dong Huang Baiji finished speaking, Yi Hua added, acting cool. Dong Huang Baiji. Everyone. Dong Huangfei's mind was filled with 10,000 curses. Can't we just have a pleasant conversation? You stinky man. What are you interrupting for? Do you believe that I won't interrupt you? Yi Hua said gravely. Now I will ask you a question. Dong Huangfei waved his hand. I want to know. The biggest secret of your East Emperor family is related to my woman. Why was she controlled by someone? If it wasn't for me appearing and displaying a heroic feat, my woman would have been living in an abyss of suffering. Hearing Yihua's words, some people became stupefied. Wanwan felt that Dong Huang Baiji was so blessed to have a man who loved her so deeply. Meanwhile, Dong Huang Baiji wanted to curse out in her heart. Heroic feat, I was carelessly tricked by you for the first time. And you call that heroic feat? You are lying through your teeth. Dong Huangfei wrinkled his brows. Being controlled by someone? I really don't know about that. After all, those are the secrets of the higher-ups. What? You aren't going to say it? Yihua asked coldly. I don't know either. Baiji, transform and show him. Dong Huangfei hurriedly said. Wait a minute, don't get agitated, let's talk things out. Go ahead and say it then. Dong Huang Baiji was very curious too. At this moment, Dong Huang Qingru came over with a cup of tea. After the tea was served, Dong Huang Qingru stood at the side and seemed like she was going to sit down. You go out and keep watch. Dong Huang Qingru went into a daze for a moment, then expressed that I also want to know this kind of gossip. Thus, she directly looked towards Yihua. Yihua ignored him. The latter felt helpless. This person was burning the bridge after crossing it. He wasn't even willing to share gossip. After Dong Huang Qingru left, Dong Huangfei took a sip of tea. Do you really want to know? If you are truly pure, do you know how big of an impression this will have? Dong Huangfei asked in a deep voice. Yihua was instantly in a bad mood and said eerily, what does this have to do with me? If you've done something wrong, stand at attention. You are really unreasonable. Right now, the 9 states and 5 seas are all peaceful because of the checks and balances of the powerful clan heads. Once something happens, the checks and balances will be broken. When that time comes, the people will be plunged into misery and suffering. Are you going to turn the entire world into hell for your personal gain? Yihua and Dong Huang Baiji went into a daze. Is it that serious? Who are you kidding? Yihua snorted coldly. Do you think that I will believe you just because you said that? The Eastern Royal Clan is the leader of all the clans. If there's any negative news, it would be a disgrace to the entire clan. It would also be a devastating blow to the Eastern Royal Clan. Don't tell me you want to take over a clan that has suffered a blow? After hearing that, Yihua asked gravely, tell me right now, what exactly is the matter that caused the Eastern Royal Clan to suffer such a disgrace? Sai, why do you have to be so stubborn? Qing Su, open his mouth for me. Yihua couldn't take it anymore. This fellow is asking for a beating. End of this chapter. Chapter 1233. Qing Su had a dazed look on his face, as if he had fallen into a memory. This made Yihua a bit awkward. I asked you to make a move, and this is your expression? However, Dong Huangfei seemed to be shocked. I know that these people aren't easy to deal with, but I can't let anything happen to them in my territory. Actually, this is just a legend. As for the truth, I am not very clear about it either. Dong Huangfei was a bit scared. His intuition told him that only by being scared would he be safe. This was similar to Dong Huang Qingru. If they were to cower, they would be able to see the world. Speak. Yihua was very curious about what exactly was going on. Dong Huang Baiji also wanted to know. No matter if it was a legend or not, she still wanted to know. Dong Huangfei let out a light sigh. Since you all want to know, I will speak about it. However, I still hope that you all don't implicate me. I naturally won't implicate you, Yihua said indifferently. As for what other people were thinking, he didn't know. Dong Huangfei was thinking in his heart, I don't believe you all. You all look like the type that doesn't keep your promises. This matter has to start from a very long time ago. At that time, I was still the head guard of the rear courtyard. Dong Huangfei said solemnly. Yihua nodded his head. The rear courtyard is not bad. It is much more interesting than the front courtyard. Dong Huangfei said seriously. Indeed, the rear courtyard is more important. Let's get to the main point. Stop talking about the front courtyard and the rear courtyard, Yihua said in a low voice. Isn't this what you are talking about? Dong Huang Baiji couldn't take it anymore. Can you all stop talking about the front courtyard and the rear courtyard? Yihua leaned on the chair, took out a cigarette, and lit it up. Dong Huangfei could feel that Dong Huangbaiji's aura was indeed very pure. Miss Baiji, please calm down. Dong Huangfei had to calm down Dong Huangbaiji. If someone were to discover this aura, they would be in big trouble. TMD. Are you going to speak or not? Yihua couldn't take it anymore. Just what is going on? You've been talking nonsense for half a day. Speak, be quiet for a bit. Let me recall properly. Can you all not be so noisy? At this moment, Qingsu couldn't take it anymore and said. It must be said that everyone present was very annoyed. Yihua, who was annoyed, his gaze turned cold. Qingsu. The latter pursed his lips and did not say anything. From the looks of it, the current Yihua is able to intimidate Qingsu. At the very least, Qingsu won't talk back. From the looks of it, in Qingsu's subconsciousness, Qingsu has begun to acknowledge Yihua's memories. Dong Huangfei pursed his lips. I have no choice but to say it. I advise you to speak the truth, if not. Yihua gave a stern warning. Dong Huangfei was furious. How many years have I been a floor manager? He was actually being threatened today. Moreover, I was threatened in my own territory. If it wasn't for that woman, I wouldn't have such a bad temper. This matter has to start from a very long time ago. At that time, I was still the head of the rear courtyard guards. Yihua couldn't help but say, you have already said this sentence just now. Yihua, can you not interrupt others? Yihua, yeah, don't interrupt me and mess up my memory. All right, continue speaking. Yihua said gravely. Yihua's mood was a bit bad. However, Dong Huangfei continued speaking. This matter has to start from a very long time ago. At that time, I was still the head of the rear courtyard guards. In the entire Donghuang family, there were two outstanding people. These two people were the legitimate descendants of the family, and the position of the family head would definitely be given to one of them. Hearing till here, Yihua understood that the plot of the story should be that the two people were fighting for the position of the family head, and then one of them was framed, and that framed person should be on Dong Huangbaiji's side. Dong Huangbaiji seemed to be thinking the same thing as well. Qingsu, who had a dull look on his face, seemed to have started listening to the story as well. Even Dong Huang Qingru, who was standing outside, was eavesdropping on the story. These two people, one of them is called Dong Huang Shini, and the other one is the current family head, Dong Huang Jishang. Yihua looked towards Dong Huangbaiji, indicating that she should be related to that Dong Huang Shini. Perhaps she might be his descendant, but as for how many generations, Yihua wasn't sure. Back then, when the two of them fought for the position of the family master, it caused a huge commotion. In the end, Dong Huang Jishang obtained the position of the family master, and Dong Huang Sheni went missing. That's all. After Dong Huangfei finished speaking, he heaved a sigh of relief. That's all? Yihua asked in confusion. That's all. Dong Huangfei said seriously. F***CKme. Qingsu, get him. All right. Qingsu also couldn't help but want to do it. He was simply whetting his appetite and didn't say a single word about the main point. Wait. Dong Huangfei said hurriedly. This damned fatty looks just like an ordinary person, but I have a feeling that this fellow's gaze. No, I can't see his eyes at all. But I keep on feeling that this fellow is very evil. Speak. What exactly happened in between? Qingsu angrily asked. He hated it when people didn't finish their sentences. Dong Huangfei tightly furrowed his brows. This fat brother, you really can't say this. This is a scandal. I will die if I say it out loud. You're not telling me. I'm going to die now. Qingsu was not afraid at all. Yihua nodded his head. Indeed, if you don't tell me, you are going to die now. Dong Huangfei felt that there were two gods sitting in front of him. Although the fatty looked just like an ordinary person, the imposing manner he gave off was simply even more ferocious than the family head. This imposing manner couldn't be faked. Without accumulating it for a long time, it was impossible to achieve it. That's right, Dong Huangbaiji added. Yihua rubbed onto Dong Huangbaiji's head. That's right. Dong Huangfei was very helpless as he said in a low voice. Don't tell anyone. I am the one who told you all about this. You all are using your lives to threaten me. Yihua has never seen such a cowardly person before. Aren't you known as the floor manager? Are you all this cowardly? First of all, I have to declare my position. Whether or not this matter is true or false, you all can only use it as a reference. Dong Huangfei paused for a moment, then continued. I only heard that the current family head cuckolded Dong Huangshini. Yihua. Dong Huangbaiji. Qing Su. This gossip is too fierce. Cuckolding someone, this is simply the most ferocious revenge. You all don't have to look at me like this. There is no evidence for this. Dong Huangfei hurriedly added. Yihua asked curiously. Are the two of them blood-related brothers? Dong Huangfei nodded his head. That's right, the current family head is the younger brother. Awesome. The younger brother cuckolded the older brother, and the older brother disappeared in the end. Then, Dong Huangbaiji. Yihua looked at Dong Huangbaiji blankly. Could it be? Dong Huangbaiji was also a bit stupefied right now. If this is really the case, then I am the descendant of the current family head. This Dong Huangbaiji was a bit unable to accept this. I want to be alone. After finished speaking, Dong Huangbaiji walked out of the hall. End of this chapter. Chapter 1234. Dong Huang Qingru, who was standing outside, was also stupefied. The current family head, Dong Huang Jieshang, cuckolded his own brother. If this matter were to be known by the people of the 9 provinces and 5 seas, the Dong Huang family would become a laughing stock. No wonder the level manager is so cautious. Something big is going to happen. Yihua didn't chase after them. Right now, Dong Huangbaiji indeed needs to calm down. I came here to cause trouble and act cool. But in the end, it became a family search. Then, what should Dong Huangbaiji call the current family head? According to what Dong Huangbaiji said, his father had already passed away. Perhaps he should be called Grandpa. Fortunately, it's not his father. That would be so awkward. Yihua didn't know how to comfort his wife right now. If I knew that there would be such a trap, I should have come here first to check things out. How can the Empress accept this? If it was me, I would also be at a loss. Speaking of which, I have never seen the Empress's father before. According to Dong Huangbaiji, the Empress's father seemed to have died from anger? How tough is the life of the Dong Huang family? How can they die from anger? There seems to be something fishy about this. Not right. This doesn't feel right. Perhaps this family head is Dong Huangbaiji's father. If I were to deal with this matter, I would definitely hand my daughter over to the person I trust the most to prevent her from being implicated. This makes sense. My deduction is very likely to be true. If that's the case, that marquis should be the person who is secretly helping the Empress, hiding Dong Huangbaiji on Earth to prevent her from being discovered. I am truly a genius. Actually, I haven't finished speaking. Dong Huangfei said embarrassedly. Yihua and Qing Su went into a daze. Dong Huangfei could be heard continuing. According to the rumors, Dong Huangshini was cuckolded first. That's why the current family head took revenge. Yihua. Qing Su. Do Fusher, who was at the side, didn't even hear what Dong Huangfei said. As for Wan Wan, she was already shocked. I didn't expect that there would be such a scandal within a big family. If this kind of news were to be leaked out, the Dong Huang family's reputation would definitely be gone. It would only become a joke after a meal. When Yihua heard what Dong Huangbaiji said, he immediately overturned his previous conjecture. Just whose descendant is Dong Huangbaiji? This will forever be a mystery. Fortunately, Dong Huangbaiji walked out of the room. If she had heard what Yihua said just now, she would have definitely fainted. Now there was only Bodhisattva's blessing. This was not at the level of a father. Otherwise, it would be really awkward. Are there any more? Yihua asked curiously. This Dong Huang family is too chaotic. I hope that this rumor is false. There is one more thing. Dong Huangfei said solemnly. What is it? Qing Su asked immediately. Yihua glared at him fiercely. As a subordinate, you shouldn't talk too much. Qing Su pursed his lips and remained silent. What is it? Dong Huangfei looked at the surroundings and said in a low voice. At that time, none of them had a wife or fiancé. Right now, Yihua was a bit confused. It was the same for Qing Su. Damn, is it asexual reproduction? With just a single sentence, this fellow had completely overturned all of Yihua's previous plans. Right now, Yihua was completely unable to understand what was going on. However, this aroused Yihua's desire to know the inside story even more. Where's the family head? I'll go and pout my lips. Qingsu said solemnly. He had to know the inside story. Yihua did not say anything. I indeed need to know the inside story, my woman. Which side were they on? Don't get too excited. Recently, the Eastern Emperor clan is organizing a youth competition. If you guys were to directly cause trouble, the consequences would be dire. Have you heard of the Immortal Shrine? Dong Huangfei said solemnly. Yihua went into a daze, then looked towards Wanwan. Wanwan felt guilty. Qingsu also knew that this indestructible shrine was really that strong. Even the Donghuang clan was afraid of him? I have heard of it. What about it? Yihua asked curiously. Dong Huangfei said solemnly. This palace master has been suppressed by the patriarchs of several big clans. That's why he has been peaceful for thousands of years. Recently, this group of people has been acting strangely again. I'm afraid they are trying to cause trouble. So, Yihua asked. That's why we can't complicate the issue now. The hall master is afraid that if the ceiling formation disappears, it will bring about destruction. That's why he wants you guys to calm down and have a good chat. Misunderstandings can be resolved. There's no need to fight and kill each other. This palace master is so powerful? Yihua was a bit curious. Right now, I am lacking a strong opponent. That palace master is able to make Wei Chang betray his faction. That palace master definitely has a very terrifying strength. I really want to have a look at him. That's not right. Wasn't it said that the hall master was sealing it? He is indeed very powerful. He has countless experts under him. Yihua asked. Did you just say that the hall master is within the seal? That's right. All of the family patriarchs will work together to reinforce the seal every month. If not, the seal will be broken. The seal is filled with the aura of all of the family patriarchs. If something were to happen to the family patriarch, the consequences, I dare not imagine. Yihua took a look at Qingsu, and Qingsu gave Yihua a look of wanting to cause trouble. As expected of my subordinate. You never forget to cause trouble. I can let this evil out to play with. I want to let Wei Chang see how trash the master that you chose is. When the time comes, you will kneel in front of me and repent. And I won't forgive you. What do you mean by the youngster assembly that you mentioned just now? Yihua asked. Oh, it means that the most outstanding disciple will be chosen from among the disciples to be groomed. Dong Huangji will be attending as well? Yihua asked curiously. Of course, the number one disciple will be groomed personally by the family patriarch. Yihua nodded his head, then looked at Dong Huangbaiji's back view and asked, Can you give me an identity? You are thinking? Dong Huangfei seemed to be able to sense what Yihua wanted to do. I am just thinking. Dong Huangfei pondered for a moment, then nodded his head. Forget it, in any case, I will be killed by you all. I will guarantee that you won't die. Yihua said faintly. If I want someone to die, that person will definitely die. But if I want someone to live, even if all 4 of his limbs are broken, that person will still be able to live. Really? Of course. Then let me tell you another secret. F***ck. I suddenly don't want to protect him anymore. This is simply not trustworthy. What secret? Dong Huangfei said in a low voice. The family patriarch has an uncle. The corner of Yihua and Qingsu's mouth twitched slightly. Could it be that this uncle cuckolded us brothers? F***ck. How can these people be so perverted? It's not what you all think. The family patriarch's uncle is called Donghuang Ci. He is the one with the highest seniority in the entire Donghuang family. And his strength is also the strongest. You all have to be careful. I feel that Donghuang Ci is not a good person. Dong Huangfei warned. Yihua felt that he had gained a lot from this trip. Now it is time for me to display my strength. Let everyone fear the power of the deity. Tremble in fear. End of chapter. Chapter 1235. Is this Dong Huangji preparing to usurp the position of the family master? Yihua asked curiously. Dong Huangfei shook his head. You are wrong. Dong Huangji loves the East Emperor a lot. He should be doting on the East Emperor. Yihua couldn't help but start imagining the scene of an old man doting on another old man. That scene is so unbearable. I don't want to see that scene. So this Dong Huangji is East Emperor Ji's backing? Yihua asked. Dong Huangfei shook his head. You are wrong. On the contrary, the family master doesn't really care about his uncle. Oh, there is such a thing? Yihua was curious. This uncle dotes on his nephew, and the nephew doesn't care about his uncle. This is so weird. This big family is very messy. As subordinates, we can't be too gossipy, right? Yihua seemed to be able to understand. Those subordinates of mine aren't the 8 trigrams supreme overlord. They will instantly know everything that happens. They even know that I am quarreling with my wife. How can you believe that? Can you arrange it? Yihua asked faintly. Yes, then can you all be my subordinates? After all, you all understand. Yihua nodded his head. I shall be the Empress's subordinate for the time being. I shall go and take a look at this youngsters' assembly. Then I shall explore this Donghuang family. All right, I will go and arrange it then. You all can rest here tonight. I will bring you all to the Orange Building tomorrow morning. Yihua let out a breath, then stood up and walked towards Donghuang Baiji. My Empress is a little. I don't even know what to say. This relationship is too complicated. Yihua didn't say anything, and he immediately hugged onto the Empress. What's wrong? Are you still imagining things? Yihua asked lightly. His tone was very gentle. Donghuang Baiji seemed very heavy. Yihua, do you think that I am a product of power struggles? No, you are a product of me. Donghuang Baiji. Yihua, is this how you comfort people? Donghuang Baiji said angrily. Baiji, your starting point is wrong. You are an independent person, no matter where you come from. Look at Lai Gu and the others. Is their birth very glorious? That's obviously not the case, but it can't stop us from living a happy life, so what you're thinking now is unnecessary. Donghuang Baiji felt that Yihua's words were somewhat reasonable, but she felt that it was a bit crooked. Then if I was really an illegitimate daughter, would you despise me? Donghuang Baiji turned around and looked towards Yihua, feeling extremely wronged. Yihua let out a light sigh. From the moment I tricked you onto my bed, I no longer despise you. Donghuang Baiji. Can't you just comfort me? Hateful, Donghuang Baiji said petulantly. Let's just forget about it. It would already be good if I don't anger myself to death. He was so angry that he wanted to laugh. Look, you're smiling. I don't want to talk to you for even a minute. Donghuang Baiji snorted, then walked to the flowers and plants at the side, and her expression became serious once again. Yihua said helplessly. When he turned his head around and took a look at Qing Su, he discovered that Qing Su had become much more docile. This can be considered as a good thing. Now that he had solved Baiji's problem and lured Wei Chang's master out, everything would be fine. Orange Tower. This was the highest sacred palace in the Donghuang family, and it was a place that all of the disciples wanted to go to. However, it wasn't that easy to enter the Orange Tower. One had to go through layers upon layers of selections to enter the Orange Tower. However, the disciples that were able to enter the Orange Tower all held important positions, and they had to dedicate their entire lives to the Donghuang family. It sounds like they were brainwashed. Alright, in actuality they were brainwashed. The higher the position, the more serious the brainwashing would be. Just look at Donghuang Fei and Donghuang Qingru. They were brainwashed without any need to be brainwashed. They would gossip and even directly admit defeat, not even wanting to fight. At least, they had some self-awareness. The Orange Tower was the tallest tower, and one would be able to see the outer space from here. The night was truly very beautiful. In actuality, the Orange Tower was the tallest tower that the family had lived in. One would be able to have a panoramic view of the entire Donghuang family, as well as the mysterious and vast universe. Being a family head truly feels great. On the top floor of the tall tower, there was a round table, and 2 figures were currently sitting cross-legged across a small table. In a blink of an eye, one of them was Donghuang Jishang, and the other was Jiang Wuyu, the family head of the Jiang family. I say, Jishang, I'm going back. Why are you still holding me back? Jiang Wuyu drank the wine, and he had no intention of leaving at all. This was simply taking advantage of him. and yet he was still pretending to be obedient. Dong Huang Jishang sipped the wine, frowning as he looked at the stars. Why? I heard some news just now, and I suddenly stopped talking. Jiang Wuyu asked curiously. Just now, a man in black suddenly appeared and whispered a few words into Dong Huang Jishang's ear. Jiang Wuyu didn't want to eavesdrop. After all, it was a matter of another family. Dong Huang Jishang laughed, and he seemed very helpless and a little bitter. This news caught me off guard. Dong Huang Jishang said in a low voice. Do you want me to give you some advice? It's useless. Advice won't work, Dong Huang Jishang said in a low voice, and he seemed very strange. This made Jiang Wuyu even more curious. Hence, Jiang Wuyu joked. Could it be that your illegitimate daughter came to look for you? Dong Huang Jishang was stunned, and then he said, I have no children in my life, so how can I have an illegitimate daughter? You are thinking too much. Then why are you so worried? This has something to do with my big brother. Jiang Wuyu became solemn, and he asked in a low voice, What does it have to do with your big brother? Back then, I fought with my big brother for the position of the clan leader. You should know about this, right? Yes, legend has it that you made your big brother a cuckold. Is this true? It seemed that no matter how strong one was, one's heart for gossip would always be there. Dong Huang Jishang looked at Jiang Wuyu from the corner of his eyes. You also know that it is a legend. Can you still believe it? Then what exactly happened? Why did your big brother go missing? Jiang Wuyu was already in suspense. This matter was one of the highest secrets of the 9 provinces and 5 seas. Dong Huang Jishang said indifferently, Dead. I knew it. You must have killed him. Then you took his sister-in-law for yourself. You are a pervert. Can't we talk properly? I'm just joking, don't be so nervous, Jiang Wuyu said as he took a sip of wine. As for how he died, I can't tell you. This is an important matter that involves the clan, Dong Huang Jishang said solemnly. Jiang Wuyu could understand. Actually, your big brother, Dong Huang Shini, was a genius. Unfortunately, he was killed by you. The struggle for the position of clan leader is really terrifying. Jiang Wuyu sighed. It was the same for his side. The position of clan leader was a position that was stained with blood. End of this chapter. Chapter 1236. Dong Huang Jishang sighed. That's right. Big brother's wisdom and knowledge are better than mine, what a pity. Jiang Wuyu was startled. He seemed to have understood. Your big brother changed. Am I right? Jiang Wuyu asked. Dong Huang Jishang stopped talking. Jiang Wuyu said, Seems like your big brother. He was absorbed by imperishable shrines people, and then you guys killed him, am I right? Whatever you think, Dong Huang Jishang said indifferently. The more he explained, the more complicated it would be. Jiang Wuyu did not dwell on this question. What else could he do? But Jishang, the seal has been a bit strange recently. Seems like there is an expert helping you. Jiang Wuyu said solemnly. Dong Huang Jishang nodded. I called you here today to discuss something. Then why did you only call me? To be on good terms with you. The other two are very arrogant. Actually, I am also very arrogant, Jiang Wuyu added. Dong Huang Jishang smiled. If you were to be seen like this, your reputation would be lost. Reputation is fleeting to me. I have already thought it through. If not for this seal, I would not be bothered to be the family master. Act. Can you act more like it? Hee, you can see through me. Let's talk about proper business. How are we going to deal with this seal? Strengthen it. Jiang Wuyu said seriously. He was worried about the seal. We can only strengthen it. There is no other way. But we still need a backup plan. Once the seal is broken, we need a way to deal with it. Although I don't like those 2 old men, I think we still need to gather them and discuss how to deal with it, Dong Huang Jishang said. One person's strength was not enough. That palace master was very strong. This is the only way. Wait for me to deal with this matter. What is it? You will know tomorrow, Dong Huang Jishang said. Dong Huang Jishang obviously knew about Dong Huang Baiji's arrival. Everything that happened in the Dong Huang family had spies. How could Dong Huang Baiji's appearance be hidden? Still keeping me in suspense? Alright then, I'll stay and see what's going on. It's a little troublesome. I don't know where that uncle of mine found a servant recently. This person's chi is very heavy, and just looking at him makes me feel uncomfortable. Donghuang Jishang was a little annoyed. Jiang Wuyu warned. I think that uncle of yours is quite dangerous. You have to be careful, or else he might kill you. I know I will. Donghuang Jishang said gravely. He did not have any good impression of his uncle at all. He even felt that his uncle was a smiling tiger. On the surface, he seemed to support him a lot, but in reality, she just wanted him to be a puppet, just like the time when she congratulated ascended goddess Meng Yao. She didn't even tell him anything, and just sent an eccentric person to deliver the congratulatory gift. She didn't even put him in her eyes. However, given their seniority, he could not be too calculative about it. Otherwise, others might say that there was something wrong with him as the clan head. The two continued to sit on the top floor, drinking the fragrant wine, and not saying a word. However, Yihua was currently chatting with Qing Su. However, Yihua wasn't drinking any wine nor was he drinking any water. Yihua was currently smoking. Even Qing Su loved to smoke, and he was immediately led astray by Yihua. Did you gain any enlightenment during these few days? Yihua breathed out a mouthful of green smoke. The green smoke dispersed in the air, and it gave off a rather beautiful feeling. Qing Su's hand gesture of holding the cigarette was a little rusty, and it could be seen that he was a newbie. Even the way he looked when he was smoking was very awkward, and Yihua wanted to extinguish his cigarette. This is simply wasting my food. I have to ask Qingye to bring back a few boxes of food for me. However, I don't expect Qingye to bring back a box of food for me. Qing Su spread out the cigarette ash, and in the end, the ash even landed on his pants. I did gain some enlightenment, Qing Su said in a low voice. That was indeed the case. What did you gain? Gain no brains, Yihua. Are you saying that I have no brains? No. I'm not talking about you alone. I'm talking about everyone. Yihua almost choked on his own cigarette. This bastard. I'm getting a bit carried away. However, what Qing Su said makes sense. When you are around, everyone has no brains. That fellow Wei Chang betrayed us? Qing Su asked curiously. Along with Qing Su's question, Yihua became a bit happy. You know about Wei Chang? How can I not remember about that man-eating monster? Qing Su let out a breath. Seems like you have remembered about him. More or less. Then why aren't you bowing? What are you standing there for? Qing Su rolled his eyes. Do you have to be so quick? If I had known, I would have said it. I didn't remember anything. What are you standing there for? Hurry up and move. You are so fat, you need to move to lose weight. Qing Su really wanted to throw out a handful of poison. Qing Su had no choice but to stand up, but he was pressed down by Yihua. Forget it, with your body size, if you were to bow, you would look like a meatball. The corner of Qing Su's mouth twitched slightly. Your Honor, don't mess around. Welcome back to this sovereign's team. Thank you, Your Honor. Yihua was finally gratified. At least, Qing Su, this fellow is normal. Sigh, it is actually perfect now. Yihua let out a long sigh. Your Honor, this indestructible shrine seems to be a bit powerful. It is better for us to be more cautious. Qing Su warned. Yihua wrinkled his brows. To be able to make Wei Chang change sides, this indestructible shrine is indeed quite powerful. Furthermore, from what Donghuang Fei said today, this indestructible shrine does have some capabilities. That's right, that's why, Your Honor, being a bit more cautious is not a bad thing. Yihua said faintly. Qing Su, sometimes being cautious is a good thing, but if you are overly cautious, that would be fear. What Your Honor said is extremely true, but you also said the same thing in the past. Yihua. Damn it, is this Qing Su here to expose my past? And he is even here to expose my dark history? Can you not mention the past? Yihua said gravely. You are asking for a beating. All right, Your Honor, that kind of thing in the past was indeed not very good. It was a bit embarrassing. If you continue talking about it, you are going to embarrass yourself. Your Honor, please forgive me. Yihua let out a breath. He was a bit angered. You should deal with Do Fusher first. Look at you, treating someone else like a lab rat. Fortunately, that person didn't become a fool. Yihua said gravely. Qing Su went into a daze for a moment, then said, "That's not it, Your Honor. That person was very foolish in the past. I made him become smarter." All right. Yihua felt that Qing Su was right too. But no matter what, Dou Fusher still tastes better than before. Qing Su didn't say anything, he waved his hand, and Dou Fusher, who was standing at the side, could be seen gradually waking up, and his pair of purple eyes could be seen becoming normal. "It has been raining continuously, my house collapsed, I am sorry." End of chapter. Chapter 1237. Dou Fusher looked at His Honor, then looked at Qing Su, who was at the side. Dou Fusher went into a daze for about half a second, and the expression on his face slowly turned from shock to grievance. Afterward, Yihua fiercely hugged onto Yihua's thigh. "Your Honor, this person, he humiliated me. I am so miserable." Yihua wrinkled his brows and looked towards Qing Su. "I am starting to regret my decision. Can I change back to how I was just now?" "It should be possible. It'll just take some time." Qing Su nodded and said seriously, "Your Honor, don't. I am your loyal subordinate." Dou Fusher was scared out of his wits. Actually, in the few days that he had been a puppet, he still had his own consciousness. Every day he had to take pills and bathe in bugs. It was simply disgusting. "All right, be serious. Stand up," Yihua said faintly. "You are a big man. Why are you crying? Your wife, soul separation, is the one who is a man. For you, she even went to train herself and almost died." Dou Fusher felt wronged and immediately stood behind Yihua with a vigilant look on his face. To this fatty, Yihua was just like a demon. "Your Honor, are we going to take action tomorrow?" Qing Su asked. "If nothing unexpected happens, we will be taking action soon." Yihua nodded his head. "Everything that the Donghuang family owes me, I have to pay them back." Of course, Qing Su wouldn't object. He loved big scenes, and it was especially comfortable to stir up trouble. "Rest early. There should be a good show tomorrow." "Yes." Yihua extinguished the cigarette, then walked into the room. "Today, the Empress actually went to sleep early. She actually doesn't plan to serve me in bed? In the past few days, I have not even had the time to take revenge against those who have killed me." After taking off his clothes, Yihua squeezed into the blanket and hugged onto Donghuang Baiji's soft body. In his heart, Yihua was feeling very happy. An outstanding woman like Donghuang Baiji will only be hugged by me. "Don't mess around, I don't want to," Donghuang Baiji said in a low voice. Donghuang Baiji was not in the mood today. Of course, Yihua knew that Yihua was actually just going to hug her for a bit. In the end, the Empress thought that I was going to make a move on her. Do I, the Supreme Overlord, look like that kind of person? He had really underestimated the Supreme Overlord. "Baiji, the truth will be revealed tomorrow," Yihua said tenderly. "The truth is no longer important." "That's good. Is that okay?" Donghuang Baiji hammered Yihua's head unhappily. "All right, your head. I'm not in a good mood unless you coax me." Sob, 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 Donghuang Baiji. Following Yihua's whining, Donghuang Baiji couldn't help but laugh out loud. This bad fellow, when he starts acting cute, no one is able to stop him. "Yihua, don't learn from us and become a whining monster." Donghuang Baiji didn't know whether to laugh or cry. However, she was still very happy in her heart. After all, in order to make me happy, Yihua was willing to be a whining monster. Yihua also felt that it was very unnatural, but for the sake of their relationship, he still had to. "Is that okay now?" "I'm really convinced. Which man is like you? Be gentler, you're hurting me." "I haven't touched you yet. Pain your head." Yihua flicked onto the Empress's forehead. The Empress pouted. Baiji, this pouting is no longer suitable for you. This is the action of a little girl. You are already past that age." The Empress wore a dumbfounded expression. "Yihua, go make a bed on the floor. Sleep. Don't touch me." Looking at the Empress holding onto the blanket and rolling herself up, Yihua had a dumbfounded expression on his face. "Is there something wrong with what I said just now?" "Baiji, what I said just now was to teach you to become a bit more mature, not to be so childish." Donghuang Baiji. Look at our Ali, she likes to pout from time to time. But you can't, you are already old. Yihua, if it weren't for us, you would be a bachelor for the rest of your life. How is that possible? With just a wave of my hand, there would be a whole bunch of women. Then go and look for a whole bunch of women. Don't look for me anymore. Donghuang Baiji was about to go crazy from anger. Too lousy, not interested. Yihua said solemnly. Donghuang Baiji was so depressed that the whites of her eyes floated out. This bastard. He actually dares to say such words in front of my own wife. If it was any other woman, they would have already started fighting with you. Seeing that the Empress didn't speak anymore, Yihua felt a bit bored. The night is long, and I am unable to fall asleep. I can only take action silently. Wife. Yihua called out lightly. What? I love you. Donghuang Baiji. Not knowing why, when Donghuang Baiji heard Yihua say these 3 words, she felt like laughing. This fellow can anger you to death, and at the same time he can also make you laugh to death. Don't think that just because you say a few nice words, I will let you play with me. Donghuang Baiji said angrily. Baiji, I can't fall asleep. Other than playing with you, I have no other entertainment. Scram. Donghuang Baiji felt that her blood pressure was a bit high. Sooner or later, she will be angered to the point that she will have a stroke. Yihua couldn't understand why she would be laughing a second ago, and then get angry the next second. I have never been like this before. Wife. Don't talk. So boring. Go and masturbate. Yihua. Yihua became silent. Donghuang Baiji was a bit puzzled. This fellow is actually not talking? Could it be that he is angry? Don't think that just because you are angry, I will go and coax you. Wife, did you ever let pigs go when you were young? Yihua suddenly asked. Donghuang Baiji rolled her eyes and said unhappily, I didn't. Wife, you are so perverted, you didn't even let pigs go. Donghuang Baiji went into a daze for a moment, then flipped over and pressed onto Yihua. Yihua, you tricked me. Ha ha. Yihua let out a hearty laugh. Tricking my wife is quite interesting. You are still laughing. I am going to hammer you to death. Yihua grabbed onto the Empress's hands, then flipped over beautifully, pressed onto her, and kissed her passionately and caressed her. And then everything happened naturally. I am an expert at picking up girls. Not willing? That doesn't exist. If you want to learn more from me, then all the big sisters will flock to you. The next morning, Yihua and Donghuang Baiji woke up early, and Yihua changed into his guard uniform. When a person becomes handsome, he will look good in anything he wears. Donghuang Baiji specially dressed up today, and her beauty was simply suffocatingly beautiful. Yihua felt proud just by looking at Donghuang Baiji. I even enjoyed myself last night. Donghuang Baiji looked at Yihua's expression. How can I not know what he is thinking? He is definitely thinking that I just had fun with this woman last night. How bold and unrestrained she is. From the looks of it, the Empress understands Yihua very well. After walking out of the door, Wanwan walked over while wearing the maid uniform, and Qingsu and Dofusher were also wearing the guard uniform. Donghuang Fei and Donghuang Qingru walked over slowly. End of chapter. Chapter 1238. Miss Baiji, this is the command plate. You can directly head to the orange building with this command plate. I won't be accompanying you all up, I understand. Donghuang Fei squeezed out a smile. Of course, he wouldn't be leaving with Yihua and the others. What should I do if I get implicated? I will be in deep trouble. So, I understand. Donghuang Baiji accepted the command medallion and thanked Yihua. Donghuang Baiji appeared to be very polite. Yihua liked this aspect of the Empress very much, and the children were also taught very well. With the token in hand, the journey was smooth. Wanwan, who was in the team, was already sweating profusely. These people are trying to stir up trouble. How dare they walk into someone else's territory? What if that floor leader betrays us? How can your hearts be so big? On the other hand, Yihua was hoping that Donghuang Fei would go and inform on them, and after that, he and the others would be completely surrounded, and after that, he would be able to start acting cool. Let the people of the Donghuang clan know that this sovereign's woman is not someone they can afford to offend. Stop them. Right when Yihua finished thinking, an angry shout rang out from behind him, And then, a group of people surrounded him. There were at least 10,000 people gathered above him, and there were also several thousand people surrounding him. All of this happened in the blink of an eye. Yihua was a little stupefied. I was just thinking about it blindly just now, and it actually succeeded? Then, all of you are forcing me to act pretentiously. What should I say? Right now, as long as his honor says a word, all the people around Qing Su would be killed in an instant. It can be said that they wouldn't even know how they died. Baiji, what do you want to do? Yihua asked faintly. After all, this was Donghuang's territory, and it could be considered the Empress's maiden home. It was better to be safe. Donghuang Baiji stared ahead. She did not expect that she would encounter such a thing right after she came out. Yihua. Donghuang Baiji called out lightly. What happened? My legs are a little weak. What's wrong? Yihua asked worriedly. It's all because of you. How dare you ask me what's wrong? Yihua. Let me do it. Yihua stood in front of Donghuang Baiji and protected her behind him. According to the usual practice, Yihua had to take out a stick of cigarette and light it up. If not, he would feel that something was missing. Just as Yihua was about to speak, everyone kneeled down. This time, Yihua was completely stupefied. What is going on? Are you guys kneeling to me? Or kneel to the Empress? Right now, Donghuang Baiji was also feeling very tempted. Why do I feel like they are kneeling down to me? Could it be that I have already been exposed so quickly? But none of them were. Greetings, great uncle. Tens of thousands of people shouted in unison. That kind of majesty immediately swept across the entire place. Wan's face was already pale from fright. Why did something happen right after I just walked out of the door? I told you not to come, but now, the grand uncle of the Donghuang clan is here. That was Donghuang Zizi. Within the entire Donghuang clan, he was the one with the most seniority. Two people walked over from afar, walking in the air with a majestic aura. Even before they arrived, their auras had already arrived. Yihua slightly narrowed his eyes and looked at the two people who were walking over. That old man should be Donghuang Ci. As for the young man beside the old man, then I don't know him. Wait, this shouldn't be called a man, right? It doesn't seem like a man. This man who was not a man was, of course, Donghuang. However, Donghuang Ying had never thought that he would see his empress in such an occasion. Empress is even more beautiful than before. I, Donghuang Ying, am the man who is going to marry Empress. No one is as noble as I, Donghuang Ying. This man. It's this man again. Back then, when Ying family showed off his might and made Ying family become his lackey, my father didn't dare to disobey, but I dared to. Empress is my, Donghuang Ying's, woman. No one should even think about tainting her. Who will? Who will? Empress. Why don't you look at me? It's me back then. You wanted to marry me. Why didn't you keep your words? Furthermore, you don't even recognize me now? Donghuang Baiji naturally didn't recognize Donghuang Ying. Back then, she only said it in a fit of pique, and she didn't even meet Donghuang Ying. Fortunately, the betrothal gift was robbed, and the one who robbed it was even Death Mage. I really didn't expect this. Yihua, of course, wouldn't recognize Death Mage. I have only heard of such a person, but I have never seen him before. If Qing Yutong and Yi Zizi were here, they would definitely have seen Death Mage before. After all, they were the ones who stepped on the lamp wick and broke it. Right now, Qing Su was very excited. The fight is finally going to start. Do Fusher felt that it was time to show off his strength. Although he had been a little disgusted recently, his strength had definitely increased tremendously. At the moment, Jiang Wuyu and the East Emperor Pole were in the Orange Tower. Patriarch. Grand Uncle. Bring some people and surround those people. A black-clothed man suddenly appeared and shouted respectfully. Donghuang Jishang's expression froze. Got it. The man in black disappeared in an instant. He was really competent. Your uncle was faster than you, Jiang Wuyu said in a deep voice. Yeah. He seems to be in a hurry. Who is that person? Donghuang Ji sighed deeply. You will know when the time comes. Let's go first. Things have already come to this, and you still won't speak? Is there any meaning to this? Jiang Wuyu hurriedly chased after him. He felt that the Donghuang clan was about to undergo a huge change. At the venue, Dong Huang Xi looked at Dong Huang Baiji, and Dong Huang Baiji looked at Dong Huang Xi. As for Yi Hua, he took a look at Dong Huang Xi, then looked at Dong Huang Baiji. He felt that the two of them didn't look alike at all. This Dong Huang was too ugly, but when he looked at the Empress, she was simply too beautiful. He couldn't even be compared to a single strand of the Empress's hair. "What is your name?" Dong Huang Xi asked faintly. His tone contained a heavenly encompassing aura, causing others to have no choice but to speak the truth. Everyone could feel the might contained within his tone, and they lowered their heads slightly and remained silent. Dong Huang Baiji was the same as well. Qingsu was already used to seeing Dong Huang Baiji. Right now, Dou Fushi was also very strong, and he was able to casually resist Dong Huang Baiji's attacks. However, Wan Wan was a bit unable to resist. Yi Hua had no choice but to protect Wan Wan. Dong Huang Baiji said faintly, "My name is Dong Huang Baiji." Dong Huang Xi's long face didn't have any fluctuations. "Dong Huang Baiji. Welcome home." Following this sentence, both Yi Hua and Dong Huang Baiji were stupefied. The disciples in the surroundings were stupefied. Just what is going on? They mustered such a large force, and in the end, they only surrounded Dong Huang Baiji for a bit. Yi Hua was filled with hatred. "I should have made a ruckus earlier, but right now Dong Huang Ji's tone is so low. Where would I find a good excuse?" However, right at this moment, Dong Huang Ji appeared. Meanwhile, Jiang Wuyu hid within the crowd and didn't appear together with Dong Huang Ji to prevent others from gossiping about him. "Greetings, family head." Everyone kneeled down and greeted Dong Huang Xi. Dong Huang Ji waved his hand, then cupped his hands towards Dong Huang Xi and said, "Uncle, why did you come out today?" End of this chapter. Chapter 1239. "So it's the patriarch," Dong Huang said softly. However, the tone of his voice was a little strange, especially the way he addressed Lin Fan as family head. It was as if he was addressing a child. It wasn't very respectful. At the very least, that was what Yi Hua heard. Yi Hua also saw the legendary family head. He couldn't be counted as an old man. At most, he could be counted as someone who had just stepped into the ranks of old men. However, to these people, age was nothing. However, Yi Hua was very curious as to which of these two people would have a relationship with the Empress. Whose child was the Empress? "Uncle, what are you doing?" Dong Huang Ji took a look at Dong Huang Baiji, and he was clearly a bit stunned. "Of course it's to welcome the younger generation back home. Baiji, don't you think so?" Dong Huang Baiji looked at Dong Huang Baiji and said with a slight smile. Yi Hua felt that this smile didn't seem to be a real smile, and it belonged to the kind where the skin and flesh didn't move. Dong Huang Baiji didn't feel very good, and thus, she didn't say anything. However, the surrounding disciples were all astonished. They thought that they were here to capture the enemy, but who would have thought that they were here to welcome someone? Dong Huang did not mind this time, and said softly, "Child, I know you have a lot of questions in your heart. I will tell you." "Uncle, you don't have to worry about this." Dong Huang Jishang smiled. Yi Hua could clearly feel that there was a problem with this. According to the development of the plot, this East Emperor Ji shouldn't be a good person. And this East Emperor Jishang shouldn't be a good person either. Seems like only this Supreme One is a good one. My Empress is really. Although Yi Hua was thinking like this, he felt that between the two of them, one of them would definitely want to harm Dong Huang Yi. Especially this Dong Huang Yi. With just a glance, Dong Huang Yi could tell that he wasn't a good person. Beside him was a guy who was neither a man nor a woman. How can that be? No matter what, this is a big matter of the Eastern royal family. We cannot look down on it. Dong Huang chuckled, appearing quite strange. Dong Huang Ji frowned for a moment, then he smiled and said, "Why don't we talk inside?" This time, Dong Huang Baiji didn't pay any attention to those words and said to Dong Huang Baiji, "Child, can you display your abilities?" Everyone was confused. Show what? Of course, it was to display the pure bloodline of Dong Huang. Dong Huang Baiji didn't know whether she should do this or not. Yi Hua seemed to be able to sense the bewilderment that the Empress was feeling. Turning his head around, Yi Hua said with a smile, "Let them see what is called purity." Looking at Yi Hua's smile, Dong Huang Baiji felt that her confidence had returned, and she wasn't that afraid anymore. Nodding her head, Donghuang Baiji regained her confidence, and an imposing aura was being emitted out from the empress body. This is what an empress should be like. Everyone was able to sense the change in Donghuang Baiji. This was a familiar aura, very pure. So pure to the point that Donghuang Ji and Donghuang Jishang frowned. This purity was above theirs. A gigantic three-legged golden crow could be seen appearing behind Donghuang Baiji's back. The golden wings of the crow spread open, and boundless might engulfed the entire world. This is the real three-legged golden crow. Everyone knelt down. The three-legged golden crow seemed to have its own intelligence. It raised its head slightly and enjoyed everyone's worship. Donghuang Ji and Donghuang Ji were incomparably shocked as well. This bloodline was purer than anyone else's. However, when it appeared on a woman, it was unimaginable. Donghuang Ying, who was at the side, had a look of worship on his face. I am her fiancé. Ants like you can only kneel down and worship me. Donghuang Ying was even fantasizing that in the future, he would be able to stand beside Donghuang Baiji and enjoy these ants kneeling down and worshipping him. I, Donghuang Ying, will not hesitate to marry the empress. I, Donghuang Ying, love this kind of feeling. You people, you can only kneel down and worship my women. My eyesight is so sharp. Among the millions and millions of women, I was able to find someone as beautiful as Donghuang Baiji. Furthermore, she even has such an identity. I am truly lucky. Donghuang Baiji kept the image, and there was not much expression on her face. Donghuang Ji appeared to be a bit grave as he tightly wrinkled his brows. Donghuang Ji calmed himself down and said with a smile, as expected of the purest bloodline, Donghuang Baiji, the entire Donghuang family is proud of you. Donghuang Baiji. All of the disciples shouted out. Why do I feel that this Donghuang Ji seems to be chasing Donghuang Jishang off the stage? From what Donghuang Ji said just now, the purest bloodline means that Donghuang Jishang is even purer than Donghuang Jishang. And to say that the entire Donghuang family is proud of the empress, isn't this just making Donghuang Baiji's identity high? Was this to pave the way for him to become the next patriarch? This Donghuang Ji's schemes are very deep. With just a single sentence, he managed to make everyone approve of this person who had just entered the clan. Donghuang Baiji appeared to be very calm and collected. After all, she had been following Yi Hua, and what kind of big scenes had she not seen before? A scene like this could only be considered as child's play. All I want to do is to find out about my own identity. What family head? I don't really care about it. It's the same for anyone to be the family head. Child, come with me. Donghuang said lightly, then turned around and walked towards the building that was at the side of the orange building. If one did not look carefully, one would not be able to see it. After all, the house seemed to be in the clouds. Yi Hua wanted to see what kind of tricks Donghuang Baiji was going to play this time. Thus, he brought along Donghuang Baiji and followed after Donghuang Baiji. Qingsu and Dofusher followed suit. Wan had been so scared that her legs had turned to jelly, but she hadn't expected the situation to change like this. Jiang Wuyu, who was within the crowd, was very astonished. This woman, he had never heard of such a pure bloodline before. It seemed that she was an illegitimate daughter. This is practically a scandal. It seemed like the Donghuang clan was going to become the main topic. Who would have thought? Donghuang Jishang helplessly followed suit. Amidst the clouds, an ordinary courtyard, flowers, plants, an ordinary pavilion, an ordinary house, everything was so simple and unadorned. It's a bit simple and unadorned. Donghuang Jishang said lightly with an indifferent look on his face. Donghuang Ying would occasionally sneak a peek at the empress. I really want to hold on to that little hand of mine, but now is not the time. Yi Hua seemed to be able to feel that this androgynous person was currently sneaking a peek at his wife. Donghuang Baiji was also able to feel that this person was occasionally sneaking a peek at her. Donghuang Baiji really wanted to dig out his eyes, because she could see possession within his gaze. However, Donghuang Baiji still wanted to know, where exactly did I come from? My father. Is he my biological father? And my mother that I have never seen before? Everyone walked into the house and discovered that the furnishings within the house were even more simple and unadorned. A bed, a table, and a few stools. Donghuang Ying, go and pour some tea. Yes. Dong Huang-ing replied respectfully, then left. Dong Huang Jishang looked towards his nephew and said lightly, Jishang, aren't you going to host the youngsters' assembly? It's still early. Dong Huang Jishang said indifferently. End of chapter. Chapter 1240. Dong Huangji nodded his head. Sit down then. All right, uncle. Yi Hua and Dong Huang Baiji sat down, while the others stood at the side. At this moment, Dong Huangji asked curiously, Child, this is? My husband. Oh good. Dong Huangji looked at Yi Hua and praised. Yi Hua remained silent. Whether I am good or not, it is not up to others to judge. Dong Huangji sized up Yi Hua and discovered that this man is a bit arrogant. If Yi Hua isn't arrogant, would he still be called Yi Hua? After pausing for a while, Dong Huangji looked at Dong Huang Baiji and said, Child, it has been hard on you for so many years. Dong Huang Baiji didn't know why, but why do I feel that? I feel that this is the love of an elder? That tone of hers is doting? What is going on? For even Yi Hua to have such a feeling, just what exactly is going on? Me? Who is it? Dong Huang Baiji asked gravely. Dong Huangji smiled faintly. Child, do you still remember your childhood? Childhood? Dong Huang Baiji went into a daze. My childhood? My childhood? Dong Huang Baiji was a bit confused. What was my childhood? Seeing that Dong Huang Baiji's expression was a bit weird, Yi Hua asked gravely, What's wrong? Yi Hua, my childhood? I can't remember. You can't remember? Yi Hua asked confusedly. Dong Huang Baiji indeed couldn't remember her childhood. It seemed that ever since she could remember, she had the appearance of an adult. He had never thought about it, but after Dong Huang's question, he couldn't think about it anymore. Yi Hua asked gravely, Baiji, where did you grow up? I don't know. I seem to have always. Looking at Dong Huang Baiji's expression, Yi Hua was certain. That father back then is definitely not my father. Furthermore, Dong Huang Baiji was taken down after she became an adult. Right now, Yi Hua was very curious. Just what kind of secret does the Empress have? Dong Huangji pointed at the table and said lightly, It is normal that you don't know, because the place where you grew up is here. Hearing such news, Dong Huang Baiji's mind went blank. I actually grew up here? Then, how are we going to explain what happened in Voidless Realm? I'm talking about here. Dong Huang emphasized again. Dong Huang Jishang, who was at the side, didn't say anything. Here? Yi Hua asked puzzledly. Yes, your wife grew up here. Yi Hua was really confused. My woman actually grew up in such a small place. Then what was the reason? Who let Dong Huang Baiji grow up here? Dong Huang Baiji was already shocked to the point that she was speechless. Extreme high, are you still not going to call for reinforcements? Dong Huang said indifferently. The corner of Yi Hua's mouth twitched slightly. Call for help. What does that mean? Dong Huang Baiji. Call me mommy? *CK me. This plot was a little exaggerated. Believe it or not, I will smash your head. Qing Su and Do Fusher, who were standing at the side, also had stupefied looks on their faces. It seems like we are thinking the same thing as Yi Hua. Could it be that this family head is going to call me mom? If that's the case, then this matter is going to be huge. His honor is actually so miserable. Wan's chin was about to drop onto the ground. This Dong Huang family's gossip is simply too explosive. Dong Huang Baiji was startled. Looking at Dong Huangji, who was in front of her, this slightly older man, he wouldn't start calling me mommy, right? Don't call me mommy. Dong Huangji closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Everyone looked at Dong Huangji's mouth movements and held their breaths. Even their scalps were a little numb. Yi Hua felt that as long as this Dong Huangji calls me mommy, I will slaughter everyone here. Everything is a plot. Big sister. Following the word big sister, Dong Huang Baiji was stupefied. Yi Hua's mouth slightly opened. Qing Su and Do Fusher didn't expect this at all. This is almost the same as calling me mommy. Wan also didn't expect that this Dong Huangji would actually call me big sister. What the *CK was going on? Everyone's mind was filled with a huge question mark. I am your big sister? Dong Huang Baiji asked blankly. Dong Huangji nodded his head. and his expression seemed to be a little unwilling. However, Dong Huangji said lightly, "Child, you are my big brother's daughter. Dong Huangji is your blood-related younger brother. And Dong Huangshini is also your blood-related younger brother." Dong Huangbaiji started sweating. Just what is going on? How did I suddenly have two blood-related younger brothers? Yihua felt that it's hopeless. It's completely hopeless. Originally, I thought that this is a plot, and I suspect that this is a plot, but looking at the situation, it should be a problem with Dong Huangbaiji herself. Why did I come here alone when I was young? Either I have mental problems, or I don't get along well with others, just like me. Then why did I go to other places? Why? Dong Huangbaiji had a lot of questions in her mind. Dong Huangji said lightly, "Because you killed Dong Huangshini, and almost killed Dong Huangji as well." Yihua's expression was very interesting. To be able to make a supreme overlord reveal an embarrassed expression, I reckon that there isn't anyone else in this world. My own woman actually didn't even let off her blood-related younger brother. Isn't this too cruel? Could it be that this Dong Huangji doesn't have a good expression the moment he arrived? I am about to be killed by my own big sister. How can I still have a good expression? However, the Supreme Overlord, I seem to be liking the Empress more and more. I just like this kind of blood Empress. This is too explosive. Dong Huangbaiji didn't know what to say anymore. How did I become the person who killed my blood-related younger brother? It must be fake. You have had a problem since you were young. Dong Huangji pointed at his own head and said. Yihua was speechless. I actually guessed correctly. The Empress was mentally abnormal when she was young, which is why she was left alone at the side. After that, the Empress who had gone insane killed her own blood-related younger brother, and in the end, the Empress was exiled from the family. This should be the plot. There shouldn't be anything wrong with it. However, why do I feel that there isn't anything wrong with the Empress's intelligence? Dong Huangji said lightly, "When you were born, the entire Donghuang family suffered from a plague, and a lot of people died. Therefore, you are an inauspicious person. Furthermore, you have a bit of a mental problem, which made everyone feel even more suspicious of you. And that's why they locked you up here. Your father had only seen you twice. The first time was when you were born, and the second time was when he sent you away. Your mother had only seen you once, and that was when you were born. All of the nannies who had taken care of you before had already died. Even now, I can still vaguely remember the short and small you holding onto a small knife and standing beside a corpse." Dong Huangji's words caused everyone to be shocked. Yihua felt that what Dong Huangji said was nonsense. After all, there isn't any evidence at all. Dong Huangbaiji doesn't believe that I am that kind of person. How is that possible? End of this chapter. Chapter 1241. Why? Mother only met her once? Yihua asked curiously. Dong Huangji Shang said faintly. Mother knew that big sister killed her little brother, so she was angered to death. Yihua. Dong Huangbaiji found it hard to believe. This is fake, right? Qing Su and Do Fusher were both shocked. Your wife actually has such a dark history? Dong Huangji said faintly. Baiji, actually, some things cannot be blamed on you. Those nannies who took care of you back then all had the intention to harm you. That's why you fought back. I only found out about this matter after investigating for a long time, and I suspect that their goal was to harm you. Yihua felt that this old man really knows how to keep me in suspense. I was just wondering why my woman looks so kind-hearted as to kill people indiscriminately. Back then, although there was something wrong with your mind, most of it was normal. Furthermore, you were more mature than your peers, and your strength was also top-notch. At that time, I realized that you might be the first goddess in the entire 9 provinces and 5 seas, and not Mingyao. It's a pity that Dong Huangshan entered the indestructible shrine. Back then, you saw through him with a single look and killed him. And when Ji Shang wanted to save Big Brother, he was injured by you as well. You are simply too strong. This is what a pure bloodline looks like. In the end, your father still agreed to send you away, erased your memories, sealed your strength, and told Dong Huangpa to protect you. Child, after so many years have passed, you are finally back. Seeing how you are now, I believe that your father's spirit in heaven would be gratified. After all, you are also his flesh and blood. Everyone wanted to kill you, but he protected you. Yi Hua remained silent. I don't know if what this old man said is true or not. While Donghuang Baiji's expression was calm, her heart was in turmoil, and she couldn't calm down for a long time. Is my identity real or not? Can I believe what they say? Dong Huangji said lightly. I know that you won't believe me. After finished speaking, he waved his hand, and an image appeared in front of him. This was Donghuang Baiji. She was currently sitting in the pavilion outside, and her expression was a bit dull, making her look very young. Yi Hua looked at the pavilion outside. It looks exactly the same. However, this doesn't seem to explain anything. Dong Huangji looked calm, but his heart wasn't calm either. Yi Hua, I'm a bit tired. Dong Huangji said lightly. East Emperor nodded his head. East Emperor Ji stood up and said, I'll bring you guys to rest. Yi Hua didn't say anything. I have a feeling that there's something fishy about this, but for the time being, I don't know what it is. Should he let White Bones come over to scout for information? After all, White Bones was an abnormal person, a bug. Forget it, there's no meaning in the main Supreme Overlord cheating like this. The main Supreme Overlord is already cheating with his own strength. If his subordinates were to cheat as well, then that would be too arrogant. Following behind Donghuang Jishang, everyone arrived at the Orange House. On the way, Donghuang Jishang was very quiet, seemingly as if he didn't want to pay attention to this big sister. Yi Hua didn't say anything. So what if you don't pay attention to me? My woman doesn't care about this place at all. The disciples of the Orange Tower were puzzled. Why would the family head personally bring a few people along? He was puzzled. Feel free to stay in this row of rooms. Donghuang Jishang said softly. Yi Hua said faintly, You can go now. Donghuang Jishang looked at Yi Hua with hostility in his eyes. Yi Hua was not afraid at all, and he stared back at Donghuang Jishang. I have never been afraid of anyone. If you're hungry, call the servants. Donghuang Jishang spoke indifferently. After that, he disappeared from his location. Yi Hua snorted coldly. Baiji, go and rest for a while. I don't think that these people are good people. I'm going to rest, Yi Hua. Donghuang Baiji said in a low voice, then walked into the room. Yi Hua still wanted to go in and comfort the Empress, but in the end Donghuang Baiji closed the door. In Donghuangji's room, Donghuangji appeared once again. Uncle, are you still unwilling to give up, just like father? All these years, I've been waiting for Baiji's return, Donghuang Jishang said in a deep voice. Jishang, your father would do anything for this matter. Now Baiji has come back on her own accord. Isn't this a good thing? Dong Huangyi took a sip of his tea. Dong Huangying, who was standing behind him, was also a little confused. Dong Huang Jishang said in a deep voice, Uncle, back then, when Dong Huang Pro escaped with Big Sister, wasn't it because he wanted to avoid your pursuit? Moreover, Eastern Emperor Shen Yi deserved to die. Bastard! Why did Dong Huangshen say that he was your elder brother? Dong Huang Baiji's body is a sacrificial offering. Uncle, no one is a sacrificial offering the moment they are born. These are all groundless things that you all forcefully added onto them. Dong Huang Jishang said in displeasure. Dong Huangji let out a nasal snort, then said in disdain. Didn't you not point it out just now? You are afraid that Dong Huang Baiji will threaten your position, right? Isn't that all because of you, who allowed Baiji to clearly display her strength in front of everyone? Dong Huang Jishang hated this kind of person. Dong Huang Jishang calculated everything and used his position to force me to stand on his side. Nephew, you are in charge of the entire Donghuang family. When did uncle interfere with your matters? You also know what uncle is waiting for, and you also know that for the sake of this matter, uncle will do anything. Dong Huang Jishang took a deep breath, then took a look at Dong Huangying with a look of disgust, then left. This is also a kind of tacit agreement. At this moment, Dong Huangying asked respectfully, Master, didn't you say that? Dong Huang Baiji. That's right. I won't go back on what I promised you. Isn't a soulless body better? Dong Huangji said faintly, then walked out of the room, leaving behind Dong Huangying, who had a strange look on his face. A soulless body? Dong Huanging tightly wrinkled his brows. What I want is not a soulless body. An empress like that would no longer be an empress. Master, you actually lied to me. Dong Huanging was very angry. We had a promise back then. I sold my soul so that I can obtain Donghuang Baiji. But now you actually went back on your words. Dong Huanging tightly clenched his fists, and his eyes were filled with unwillingness. On the other side, Yi Hua, Qing Su, and the others were currently feeling bored. And Wanwan had already gone back to her room to sleep. Yi Hua brought Qing Su and Do Fusher to the Orange Building, planning to go and watch that youngsters' match. Qing Su, do you have any way to lure out imperishable shrines people? Yi Hua asked faintly. Subordinate doesn't have any way to do it yet. Yi Hua looked at the enormous Orange Building. This Orange Building is probably even bigger than my Wushu Empire. Is there any way to lure out Wei Chang? Yi Hua asked again. Subordinate doesn't have any way to do it yet. Yi Hua. Do Fusher. Tell me. Do Fusher's heart was about to collapse. Why do I keep asking questions? I don't want to answer questions at all. Your Honor, subordinate doesn't dare to say. End of chapter. Chapter 1242. Just say it. Your Honor, I feel that Lord Qing Su has a better idea. Do Fusher wasn't going to fall for Qing Su's trick. Qing Su said softly, Your Honor, subordinate believes that Wei Chang will appear sooner or later. Yi Hua felt that it was better not to ask. These two people still don't have brains. However, Your Honor, I feel that Dong Huang is a little strange this time. Qing Su said in a low voice. Do Fusher nodded. I still think that person is a little strange. Yi Hua took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up, then said faintly, I feel that everyone is acting weird. The three of them walked slowly towards the youth assembly. They stood high up on the spectator stand. Although it was a little far away, it was not a hindrance. On a stage, a fierce battle was currently happening. However, Yi Hua didn't have the mood to watch it at all. Qing Su, if they wanted to do something bad to Baiji, when would they choose to do it? Yi Hua asked curiously. Qing Su said in a low voice. If it were me, now would be the best time. Now. Yi Hua muttered. That's right. I am not by Donghuang Baiji's side right now. This is a good opportunity for me to make my move. He knew that Donghuang Baiji's mood wasn't good, and she would definitely want to be alone. There weren't many people around her, and it would be the best time for him to make his move. After hearing that, Yi Hua did not become excited, and he also did not have any plans to go back. Even if something were to happen, it would be them who would be in trouble. You guys really don't know anything about Her Majesty. She is a fiery hot woman. Only in front of me, she is like a little lamb. Just as they were chatting, a person appeared behind them. Yi Hua and the others knew about it, but none of them chose to turn their heads back. They were just that arrogant. Since they were standing at the back alone, did they have to turn their heads back? There are too few people who are able to make me turn back. Donghuang Baiji is in danger. The person who came was naturally Dong Huanging. He knew that Dong Huanging had already gone to harm Donghuang Baiji, and he was powerless to do anything about it. Thus, he could only come and tell Yi Hua about it. Although Dong Huanging wanted the empress, he wanted the complete empress, not a soulless shell. Yi Hua heard it, but he still didn't turn his head around. Why are you telling me all these? Why? Donghuang Baiji is in danger. Aren't you going to save her? Dong Huanging asked in a deep voice. Why was this man so calm? He was like this when he attacked Ying family, and he was still like this now. Save her? You don't understand. You should go and save your people. Yi Hua smoked the cigarette and blew a mouthful of smoke into the air, appearing to be very comfortable. I was just worrying that the ghost did not come out, and now that the ghost has come out by itself, it saved me a lot of trouble. Dong Huanging frowned, then turned around and left. The empress must have been blind to marry such a man. Within Donghuang Baiji's room, right now Donghuang Baiji was not lying on the bed. Instead, she was sitting beside the wooden window and looking into the distance. His mind was in a mess, and he didn't know what to do. In the past, I seemed to be a bad woman. In any case, I was the kind of woman that was not welcomed, and was doubted by everyone. Dong dong dong. At this moment, the door rang. Who? Dong Huang Baiji asked confusedly. Yi Hua definitely wouldn't knock on the door, and Yi Hua's subordinates wouldn't knock on the door either. Baiji, it's me. Dong Huang's voice sounded slowly. This caused Dong Huang Baiji to feel very puzzled. Why did this man come here? It was very strange. Please come in. Dong Huang Baiji shouted out in a low voice. Dong Huang Ji pushed open the wooden door and walked in, then said with a smile, Baiji, have you gotten used to living here? It's pretty good. The environment here is pretty good. Dong Huang Baiji said lightly, seemingly not putting up her guard against Dong Huang Ji. A trace of a smile appeared on Dong Huang Baiji's face. It's fine as long as you feel that it's good. It has been a very long time since you have returned home. Home. Everything here is very unfamiliar to me. Dong Huang Baiji said faintly. She did not feel that this place was her home. Where there is a home, there will definitely be a Yi Hua. Dong Huang Ji laughed lightly, then sat on the wooden chair and patted the white shirt that he was wearing. Baiji, how is your body? Dong Huang Ji suddenly asked. Dong Huang Baiji's gaze became serious. Leaning on the windowsill with one of her hands, Dong Huang Baiji looked at the back of Dong Huang Ji's head with a puzzled expression. You? Baiji, I am really happy that you are able to come back. After all, I have been waiting for you for a long time, and in the end, I was about to give up. However, I met a person. At that time, I knew that we would meet each other sooner or later, and thus I have been waiting for you. If Dong Huang Baiji still doesn't understand right now, then she would have been an empress for nothing. This Dong Huang Ji wants to harm me, and I am the one who delivered myself to him. However, Dong Huang Baiji was also very confused. What is the name of that person that you are talking about? Oh, his name is Dong Huanging. He is a slave that I took in. In the past, he was called Inkongsher, right? Inkongsher. Although Dong Huang Baiji had never met Inkongsher before, she still knew that name. It's actually that Dong Huang Baiji doesn't even know how to address that person anymore. Back then, I only went to that place because I was angry. I didn't expect that Inkongsher would actually become Dong Huanging. My God, I didn't expect that. Do you feel that your body doesn't have any strength left? Dong Huang Ji asked faintly. What are you trying to do? Dong Huang Baiji questioned coldly. Dong Huang Ji stood up, then turned around and looked towards the weak Dong Huang Baiji. The Dong Huang family is afraid of one thing, dragon incense. This is a type of sandalwood incense. As long as one smells it, one's entire body will become weak, and one will not be able to circulate one's energy. Dong Huang Baiji looked towards the sandalwood incense that was at the side and tightly wrinkled her brows. You guys had planned this from the start. I'm sorry, what you said is correct. Everything had indeed been planned out. Why? Your attitude in the past wasn't like this. Could it be that everything that you said was a lie? Dong Huang Baiji tightly held onto the windowsill, not letting her body fall down. Beads of sweat had already dripped down from her forehead, and she was gasping for breath. Dong Huang Ji took out a handkerchief and lightly wiped away Dong Huang Baiji's sweat. Child, you were born with extraordinary talent, and even your father was envious of you. Your bloodline is the purest in history. This caused our hearts to be clouded by lard. And in order to obtain your bloodline, we could only separate you and raise you separately. You guys are raising me like this? You can understand it that way. However, I didn't expect that your strength would become stronger and stronger. And it seems like you are a bit out of control. Originally, your father planned to directly kill you and seize the power of your bloodline. But what a pity. You killed a path of blood out of him. Also because of you, your mother took a blade from your father, and that is the true cause of her death. Dong Huang Ji said with a slight smile, seemingly not placing the matter in his heart at all. To experts like them, as long as there was a better way to break through, they would be willing to pay any price. End of this chapter. Chapter 1243. Furthermore, Dong Huang Baiji was only a child, and this child was born by them in the first place. Therefore, they believed that they had the right to decide the life and death of this child. This was the cruelty of a large clan. No, it should be the cruelty of the world. Dong Huang Baiji finally understood. So it turns out that what she said earlier was all a lie, And this is the truth. He had been locked up since he was born. It could be explained as being raised. These people were just spying on his bloodline. It was a tragedy to be born in such a family. You want to obtain my bloodline? Donghuang Baiji asked in puzzlement. That's right, child. Your bloodline is the purest in the Eastern Emperor clan. If you obtain it, unifying the 9 prefectures and 5 seas is also possible. This time, Donghuang was not interested in the position of clan leader, but in the 9 prefectures and 5 seas. He wanted to get rid of the other clans to show how strong the Donghuang clan was. Donghuang Baiji knew about the temptation of power, but she didn't expect that they would be so cruel just for the sake of power. Child, do not be afraid. There will be no pain. This time, Donghuang flipped his palm and a black pillar appeared in his hand. This pearl was prepared for you. Your father didn't get to enjoy it, so I got lucky. This time Donghuang smiled. This smile of his seemed to be sincere and happy, as if he had finally achieved what he had been waiting for many years. However, at this moment, the door was pushed open, interrupting their conversation. Donghuang's face darkened. He said coldly, "What are you doing here?" The person who came was naturally Dong Huangying. Just now, Dong Huangying went to look for Yihua, yet Yihua didn't come. How could Dong Huangying possibly sit still? The empress was won by me, Dong Huang, including the soul. No one could move. Master, don't suck her soul. This was the first time Dong Huangying acted arrogantly in front of Dong Huangyi. In the past, he was always respectful towards Dong Huangyi, but now he seemed very calm, because Dong Huangying knew that if he did that, he might very well die. But even if he were to die, he would remain firm in his belief. The empress is mine. I'm the man who's going to marry the empress. Donghuang Baiji looked towards Ing Kongshi. This was the person that she wanted to marry in the past. However, that was only a decision that she made after getting angry. Dong Huangji didn't even turn his head and said indifferently, "Who do you think you are? How dare you beg me? You promised me before. Let me have her." Dong Huangying shouted angrily. This liar. Hearing Dong Huangying's words, Donghuang Baiji was very surprised. I didn't expect that they would have such a transaction. In that case, they are in conflict right now? It seems like you're here to question my decision. This time, Dong Huangying was already emitting killing intent. However, Dong Huangying didn't seem to be afraid at all. He wanted to fight to the end. Dong Huangying said in a deep voice, "That is what you promised me." "Then I've decided right now. I won't agree. Then, I can only use the most primitive method." Dong Huangying immediately released his aura. Obviously, his aura was much stronger than before. But no matter how strong he was, he paled in comparison to Dong Huang. He didn't even have the strength to fight back. "Seems like you want to die," Dong Huang said indifferently and raised his palm. Dong Huangying, who was imposing just a moment ago, was instantly suppressed. His entire body seemed to be tied up by something, and his face revealed a painful expression. "When you sold your soul to me, there were no more conditions." Dong Huang slowly clenched his fists. As for Dong Huangying, he felt as if his body was being squeezed, and his 7 apertures were bleeding. "Bah! The empress is mine. Everyone wants to snatch her away from me." Dong Huangying's obsession was a bit terrifying. Even if he was going to die right now, he wasn't afraid at all. Reckless fool. Dong Huang clenched his fists tightly. Crack. All of the bones in Dong Huangying's body began cracking. However, it couldn't be seen from the outside at all. But even so, Dong Huangying's gaze was still on Donghuang Baiji's body. "Next life. In my next life, I still want to marry you. At that time, no one will be able to stop me." Dong Huangying waved his hand, and Dong Huangying's body turned into dust and disappeared from the room. "I gave you an inch and you want a foot. I promised to give you a physical body, yet you are still not satisfied," Dong Huangying said in disdain. Donghuang Baiji leaned on the windowsill and gasped for breath. "You even killed your subordinate." "He is not a subordinate, he is just a person who is neither male nor female. Even an ant is nobler than him," Dong Huangying said lightly. Yihua claimed that he was an inhumane person, but compared to them, Yihua was rather compassionate. Towards Ing Kongshi's death, Donghuang Baiji didn't feel much. After all, so many years had passed, and Inkongsher suddenly appeared and even collaborated with others to deal with me. I was disturbed by him for a while. Let's begin. I have waited for this moment for a long time, and I don't want to continue waiting any longer. Child, thank you. The black pearl floated up from Dong Huangying's palm. Dong Huangbaiji could be seen with the naked eye. Needless to say, the black pearl was definitely absorbing Dong Huangbaiji's bloodline. Dong Huangying's gaze was filled with excitement. I am going to possess the strongest bloodline very soon. That indestructible Shrine's palace master is going to teach me a lesson with a slap. Dong Huangbaiji could feel that the bloodline within her body was currently trembling. This pearl is indeed very powerful. However, Dong Huangying slightly wrinkled his brows. I have been absorbing for such a long time. Why isn't there any reaction? This doesn't seem to be possible. While wrinkling his brows, Dong Huangying continued to wait. Dong Huangying, are you feeling very confused? Dong Huangbaiji said in a low voice. Dong Huangying did not say anything. I don't feel very good. Logically speaking, I have already absorbed all of my bloodline, so why isn't there any reaction at all? Dong Huangbaiji continued. In actuality, other than Dong Huang's bloodline, there is another bloodline within my body. There is another bloodline? Dong Huangying cried out in surprise. That's right, that bloodline is called Yihua's bloodline. Dong Huangbaiji knew that the power of Yihua's bloodline had already fused with her body. Even Qingye had Yihua's bloodline. To be more precise, as long as one gives birth to Yihua's child, one would be able to possess Yihua's bloodline. This is definitely a super great benefit. If all the women were to know about this, they would definitely flock towards it. This is simply a cheating tool. Yihua's bloodline? What bloodline is this? Dong Huangying asked confusedly. This bloodline is very powerful to the point that I don't even know how powerful I am. Dong Huangbaiji raised her head and looked towards Dong Huangying. Her slightly arched body gradually straightened up. Although the black pearl was absorbing the bloodline, it was unable to absorb anything. Dong Huangying didn't believe it. Stretching out his hand, Dong Huangbaiji held onto the black pearl with his hand and used his own cultivation technique to increase the absorption power. Dong Huangbaiji just stood there without moving. However, Dong Huangying's expression became more and more grave. How is this possible? It is impossible for there to be a mistake. End of this chapter. Chapter 1244. Dong Huangji, the one who made a mistake is not the pearl, but yourselves. Dong Huangbaiji said coldly. She was extremely disappointed in this family. Dong Huangji looked at Dong Huangbaiji in disbelief. You are not Dong Huangbaiji. Are you panicking? Dong Huangbaiji slowly sat on the wooden chair at the side. Dong Huangbaiji's slender fingers were placed on the armrest as she looked at Dong Huangci with her eyes. Dong Huangbaiji appeared exceptionally calm. Compared to the perplexed Dong Huangci from before, the current Dong Huangbaiji was the real empress. Dong Huangji's expression tensed up as he stared at Dong Huangbaiji, as if he was trying to see through her. However, he didn't manage to see through her. After a long time, Dong Huangji laughed lightly and said faintly, Baiji, I have still underestimated you. As expected of the most talented person in Dong Huang family. After so many years, you have become even more powerful than before. Seems like your pure bloodline has helped you quite a bit. I don't know about bloodline, but I do know that having a powerful man is much more important than bloodline. Dong Huangbaiji's lips formed an arc. Bloodline is nothing. Dong Huangji frowned. He didn't expect that this would happen and deviate from his plan. Looking at Dong Huangbaiji in front of him, Dong Huangji had the intention to kill her. However, if he were to make a move, it would definitely cause a huge commotion. At that time, everyone would know that he was going to steal her bloodline. After all, Dong Huangbaiji had displayed her bloodline before. I shouldn't have done that back then, but who knew? This woman actually became so powerful that I can't even suck her bloodline anymore. Are you thinking of killing me? Dong Huangbaiji asked lightly without any fear. But are you afraid that the commotion would be too big, and that it wouldn't be easy to clean up the mess? Dong Huangbaiji was, after all, an empress. Dong Huangji said gravely, Baiji, you have become very smart, but this will only speed up your death. You want me to die? Are you sure? After all, I have a man who regards me as important as his life. Dong Huang Baiji said proudly. In any case, Yihua is not here, so I might as well boast as I want. Dong Huangji snorted coldly. Baiji, the current you looks much more comfortable than before. Of course, because I'm not that easy to provoke, and I won't be bullied by you. Dong Huang Baiji's tone gradually became cold. Towards those who wanted to harm her own people, Dong Huang Baiji would never be soft-hearted. On this point, she was different from Qingya. So, therefore you will die today. Dong Huang Baiji said lightly, announcing Dong Huang's death. Dong Huang chuckled. You're announcing my death? How arrogant, even more arrogant than before. You are thinking that I don't dare to make a move here, right? At that time, if the commotion were to become too big, it would not be good for me either. After all, if I were to kill you, my reputation would not be good. Dong Huang Baiji said lightly. So you still know. This is also the reason why I didn't kill you. Dong Huang Baiji said in disdain. This Dong Huang Baiji is a bit hard to grasp. Just now, when Dong Huang Baiji sucked on the blood, I knew that Dong Huang Baiji's strength is definitely not beneath mine. But I want to tell you, you think that I will cause a commotion, but when I kill you, I will definitely not cause a commotion. Dong Huang Baiji's tone was cold. The moment I walked into this East royal family, I was plotted against. Even these rooms are filled with dragon incense. It is as if they are trying to harm me. This is simply intolerable. Since you are so cruel to me, then don't blame me for not giving you any face. Ha ha ha. Dong Huang Baiji, although you have a pure bloodline, it is impossible for you to kill me silently. Dong Huangji laughed loudly. He was laughing at Dong Huang Baiji for overestimating herself. At this time, 3 figures walked into the room. She might cause a commotion, but I can. Yihua said faintly while smoking. Qing Su and Dou Fusher followed behind him. Dong Huangji suddenly turned his head around. I actually didn't notice them coming in. Yihua sat beside Dong Huang Baiji. Qing Su stood beside Yihua, and Dou Fusher closed the door and stood guard at the entrance. His meaning couldn't be any clearer. You will not be able to leave today. Just give up on this thought. Dong Huangji was naturally able to sense it as well, and he said gravely, looks like you are planning to go against the entire East royal family. Yihua flicked the cigarette ash and said lightly, you used the wrong word. This is not a fight, this is a one-sided fight. One-sided fight? Looks like you don't know anything about the East royal family. Looks like you are the same as other people. You don't understand the situation clearly. This time, I brought my wife here just to cause trouble. Originally, I thought that since you two are a loving family, there would be nothing to cause trouble for me. However, I never expected that you still gave me an excuse to cause trouble. Yihua had been watching from outside for a long time, and he thought that Dong Huang Baiji had already settled everything. But when he came back, the Empress was still chatting with someone else. Thus, he didn't disturb her and eavesdropped on them from outside. Feeling that it was about time, Yihua walked into the room. After all, it is time for me to flaunt my strength. I said that I will take turns to act cool. Then I would like to see how you two are going to kill me silently. Dong Huangji said in disdain, and a sharp aura was emitted out from him. Yihua flicked the cigarette, but that was on his finger, and said faintly, originally, I planned to insta-kill you, but you felt that I wouldn't dare to kill you openly. This made me a bit surprised. In this world, there is nothing that I, the Supreme Overlord, don't dare to do. Just when Yihua finished speaking, a powerful aura suddenly blossomed, forming a powerful air wave. The room was instantly blown over, and Wanwan, who was sleeping at the side, immediately let out a scream. I thought that someone was going to kill me, and when she saw Yihua, who was not far away, she hurriedly ran over. Not a single building in the surroundings was spared, and all of them collapsed. Everyone felt and even heard such a thing happening in the Orange Building. Dong Huangji, who was hosting the youngsters' assembly, frowned. What is Uncle doing? Something's wrong. This aura isn't Uncle's. There isn't even a bit of bloodline aura. It belongs to someone else. Jiang Wuyu, who was sitting at the side, said in a low voice, something happened here. I know. Dong Huangji immediately disappeared from the spot. and Jiang Wuyu hurriedly followed after him. Today, the Donghuang family will not be peaceful anymore. As the disciples of the Orange Building, they all rushed towards the location of the incident. Right now, Donghuang Baiji was a bit dizzy. Yi Hua is trying to blow this matter up. I originally wanted to kill Donghuang Ji stealthily. Does Yi Hua really think that I am afraid of him? You all treated my woman like that. How can you all not pay the price? Do you all really think that my temper is that good? You are truly thinking too much. Donghuang Ji didn't expect that Yi Hua would actually dare to do such a thing. With such a huge commotion, everyone in the Donghuang family would definitely know about it. The matter went out of control again, and this caused Donghuang Ji to be very angry. This man is truly crazy. End of this chapter. Chapter 1245. After all, Donghuang Ji still wanted to continue living here. However, Yi Hua was different. He stood on the side of reason, and did not need to consider his face at all. Since the other party was already bullying me, do I still have to give in? That's impossible. Yi Hua felt auras flying over. The first to appear was naturally Donghuang Ji. There was another person that Yi Hua did not recognize, and that person was naturally Jiang Wuyu. Very quickly, the surrounding area was filled with people from Donghuang family. Everyone was very confused. Uncle and Donghuang Baiji? What is going on? Donghuang Ji looked very solemn, and his face was very gloomy. Jiang Wuyu, who was standing not far away from Donghuang Baiji, tightly wrinkled his brows as he looked at Yi Hua and Donghuang Baiji. What is going on? Donghuang Ji asked in a low voice. As the family master, he had to display the dignity of a family master. Yi Hua stood up and said faintly, "Although you are the family master, shouldn't you greet your big sister when you see her?" Donghuang Ji. Yi Hua wanted to make things clear to everyone. The disciples who did not know what was going on were all stupefied. Donghuang Baiji is the family master's big sister. I have never heard of the family master having a big sister. Donghuang Ji was very angry. This man is going to leak out this scandal. Jiang Wuyu was even more astonished. This woman is actually Donghuang Ji's big sister? When did I have a big sister? Didn't I only have big brother? The surrounding people immediately started discussing. Donghuang Ji shouted out angrily, "Everyone quiet down. Audacious. You are actually spreading rumors." Donghuang Ji shouted out again. Of course, he had to redeem the family master's face. This kind of thing definitely cannot be leaked out. Yi Hua sneered and looked at Donghuang Baiji, seemingly saying that your blood brother really doesn't like you. Compared to Donghuang Baiji, Yi Hua seemed to be much more fortunate. At least his blood brother acknowledged him as his big brother, and he was very obedient. However, Donghuang Baiji's blood brother would rather care about his face than acknowledge her as his big sister. This was truly disappointing. Indeed, Donghuang Baiji could feel the disappointment in her heart. Right now, she did not feel like a family at all. To her, these people were even more unfamiliar than strangers. Yi Hua said faintly, "The two of you want to monopolize the pure bloodline. What a great scheme." "Nonsense. I, the Eastern monarch, will never do such a lowly thing." The aura of the Eastern monarch pole spread out, and there was an indescribable feeling of holiness, which made this sentence much more believable. The Eastern monarch Ji had indeed not done such a thing. This was the truth. Yi Hua looked towards Donghuang Tachi, the great uncle in everyone's hearts. "What about you, Donghuang Tsai?" Yi Hua questioned. This time, Donghuang's face was calm. He said, "You two, I'm afraid you've misunderstood something. However, it seems like you two are declaring war on the entire Eastern royal family." Yi Hua let out a deep sigh. This is what it means to dare to do something but not dare to admit it. Yi Hua patted on Donghuang Baiji's shoulder, indicating that she can let out a sigh of relief. Even if I killed them, I wouldn't feel any guilt at all. Donghuang Baiji slowly closed her beautiful eyes. It seemed like she no longer had any thoughts in her mind. This was exactly the attitude that Yi Hua wanted. He looked at the crowd and said in a deep voice, "That's right. This sovereign is declaring war on your Donghuang clan. For so many years, there has never been such an arrogant person who dares to stand in front of the family head and say such a thing. One who was standing at the back was scared silly. Is there a need to be so arrogant? After all, this is the Eastern royal family. Can't you be a bit more low profile? Low profile? That doesn't exist. Jiang Wuyu's expression was grave. I'm afraid that today won't be a peaceful day. Your Honor, please allow subordinate to come down. I don't want to dirty your hands. Qing Su, who was standing at the back, said respectfully. Yi Hua said faintly, It has been a long time since I fought, and I want to exercise my body. I hope that I can warm up a bit. Dong Huang Tachi shouted out coldly, Don't be so arrogant, this is the Eastern royal family. It is precisely because we are in the Eastern royal family that I am giving you all face. If not, I wouldn't even have said a single word. Yi Hua said in disdain. I am giving you all face, but you all don't want it. Inexperienced child, you truly don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Dong Huang Tachi took a step forward and released an overflowing killing intent. Even the air was trembling, and everyone could feel Dong Huang Tachi's anger. Seems like great uncle is going to make his move. Do you all only know how to talk glibly? Dong Huang Tachi's figure disappeared from where he was and appeared in the sky behind Yi Hua. Dong Huang Tachi's right fist smashed down. This fist contained the might of heaven and earth, and the entire sky seemed to be trembling. The fist emitted out a scorching aura as it smashed towards the back of Yi Hua's head. Dong Huang Tachi felt like he could see this poser's head exploding. A lowly man dares to be arrogant here. I don't know where your courage comes from. And you even dare to call yourself the Supreme Overlord. Who gave you the courage? Although Yi Hua's strength isn't as strong as Yi Zizi's, in actuality, he is already very strong. It's just that Yi Zizi is more terrifying. Towards this kind of fist, Yi Hua didn't want to use any flashy moves to deal with it. I only need a single fist. No, it's a slap. Pa. A loud and clear sound suddenly rang out. The sound was deafening and pierced through the entire world. Everyone was dumbfounded and looked at the scene in front of them in disbelief. What just happened? Why did it become like this? Behind Yi Hua, a large crater appeared, and within the large crater, a figure was lying on the ground. Without needing to think too much, everyone knew who the figure was. Yi Hua stood with his hands behind his back and said faintly, Flashy and useless. All the disciples were shocked. Dong Huang Jieshang and Jiang Wuyu's jaws almost dropped to the ground. This man. He slapped Dong Huang to the ground. Dong Huang, who was in the crater, was trembling slightly. He placed both of his hands on the ground as if he wanted to stand up, but he didn't have the strength to do so. But this time, Dong Huang's heart was filled with shock. Just now he didn't even see the other party's movements, and he already felt a huge force on his face. His mind went blank, and the huge impact made him unable to stand straight. Even now he couldn't think straight. Wan was stunned. This man could actually slap Dong Huang to the ground. Was this still a person? Was that a god? Dong Huang was considered one of the best in the 9 states and 5 seas this time, and yet he was taken care of so easily? Dong Huang Baiji didn't say anything. Even if these people were to die, I wouldn't feel any heartache. After all, they only have themselves to blame. This move of Yi Hua shocked everyone, and they basically did not dare to make any movements. After all, the one that was beaten up was Tai Shu. He was no small fry. At this moment, Yi Hua took out a cigarette and lit it up. He took a deep breath and exhaled. Not dead yet. He seems to have some ability. Everyone took in a breath of cold air. Not dead means that he has ability. Then if he died? That means that he doesn't have any ability? Dong Huang Jieshang vomited out a mouthful of blood. Until now he still didn't understand why he lost. There are still a lot of big moves that I didn't use. End of this chapter. Chapter 1246. Flicking away the ash from his cigarette, Yi Hua looked towards the person he was talking about. As expected, you are unable to let me exercise my muscles and bones. Who is the next one? The East Imperial Pole? Are you coming up? With the cigarette in his mouth and both of his hands inside his pocket, Yi Hua's actions were insufferably arrogant. Wan was already stupefied. Just who is this person? To actually be able to deal with Dong Huang, this old man, with a single slap. And even now he is still twitching. Was he going to die? Right now, Dong Huang's entire body was twitching. It was as if he was struggling before death. Dong Huang Baiji was able to see everything clearly. However, right now, she did not feel any pity for Yi Hua at all. Of course, Dong Huangji also saw it. He didn't have any impulsive thoughts in his heart, but as the family head, he still had to say what he should. How dare you kill grand uncle? Too arrogant. Dong Huang Extreme Supreme roared furiously. This kind of person was simply infuriating. Yi Hua snorted coldly. So it is only now that you realize that I am indeed very arrogant. I'll give you a chance. This time, Dong Huang stopped convulsing. He died just like that, directly killed by a single slap from Yi Hua. A golden primordial spirit floated out from Dong Huang's body, and the primordial spirit fled at high speed. Only those who experienced it would know just how formidable that slap of Yi Hua's was. That was the most terrifying slap that Dong Huang had ever seen. I have still underestimated these people too much. But could Dong Huang escape this time? It was obvious that he couldn't escape. The golden primordial spirit gradually turned dark green before falling from the sky. It fell to the ground with a thud, and turned into a pool of green water. That was a little scary. How could his primordial spirit turn into water? Who did it just now? The man didn't move at all, and the people behind him didn't move either. However, Wan knew that it was definitely that fatty who did it. Jiang Wuyu already had a fearful expression on his face. In front of them, he was completely defenseless. Hopefully, Dong Huangji wouldn't be rash as well. If he were to do so, he would definitely die. Now was not the time to be impulsive. But Dong Huangji was the family head. There were some things that he had to say. Otherwise, he would lose face today. Don't look like you want to kill me. Why don't you make a move? Yi Hua swayed his palm, indicating that the slap just now was very pleasurable. Especially that instant when the slap went down, that slap sound was extremely shocking. However, Yi Hua had to admit that he had indeed used too much force just now. If he didn't use too much force, he wouldn't have been able to slap Yi Hua to death. Everyone around them knew that if this man could slap Taishu to death with one slap, then he could slap anyone present to death. Yi Hua crooked his finger towards Dong Huangji. Dong Huangji didn't want to step out, but his body didn't listen to Yi Hua and floated forward. The disciples could only watch as their patriarch was humiliated by the bad guys, but they did not dare to do anything. After all, the bad guys were too ferocious. Rushing forward was no different from courting death. Eastern Emperor Jishang, speaking of which, I still have to call you brother-in-law. Yi Hua laughed lightly. Dong Huang Jishang's expression was not good. Right now, I will give you a chance to live. Call for help. Yi Hua said faintly. He wanted me to acknowledge Dong Huang Baiji's identity. Didn't he say that it was fine just now? A struggle appeared on the Eastern Monarch pole, as if he was making a decision. When Jiang Wuyu, who was in the group, saw this scene, he somewhat wanted to leave, but he was afraid that he would be caught the moment he turned around. That would be even more tragic. Seeing that Dong Huangji was struggling, Yi Hua said faintly, seems like I have to give you some motivation. No need, I will call for help. Dong Huangji was naturally a smart person. Since I am going to call for help, I might as well call for help now. If not, when I get beaten up later on, I will still have to call for help. Dong Huangji raised his head and looked towards Dong Huang Baiji, then shouted out in a low voice, Big sister. Louder, did you not eat? Yi Hua really wanted to give Dong Huang Baiji a slap. Dong Huangji felt as if he was dreaming. I am the patriarch. Why is it that after they came, I seem to have become a lackey? No. I am even more miserable than a lackey. Big sister. Brother-in-law. Dong Huangji shouted out loudly. The corner of Yi Hua's mouth twitched. I didn't ask you to call for me. Dong Huangji felt wronged in his heart. You are the one who said that if I call for help, then I will definitely include you. However, when everyone heard Dong Huangji's words, they were all very astonished. Dong Huang Baiji is actually the patriarch's big sister. Why didn't I know about such a thing? Just how many secrets are there that everyone doesn't know about? Yi Hua took a look at the surrounding people, then said towards Dong Huangji, Speak, tell me everything that happened. Dong Huangji didn't want to speak. He looked towards Donghuang Baiji, who was at the back. I really can't speak about this. If I speak about this, the consequences will be very serious. The Donghuang family will really become the laughingstock of everyone. Donghuang Baiji chose to ignore Yihua's words. Towards this family, her heart is already cold. There's nothing that she wants to say. Yihua can do whatever he wants to do. Brother-in-law, listen to me. This concerns indestructible shrine. Every single family is authoritative. If I were to speak about this, the authority of the Donghuang family will be lowered, and the power of sealing the shrine master will also be lowered. Therefore, I really can't speak about this. Yihua let out a heavy sigh. I am asking you to speak, so speak. What indestructible shrine? Hurry up, I don't like people who waste time. I really can't speak about this. Yihua could be seen saying in a low voice. I heard that after you die, that shrine master will be released. You. Donghuang Jishang looked at Yihua in astonishment. This man is going to release palace master. Yihua nodded his head and didn't deny it. That's right, I am going to get the palace master out. I want to see just how formidable this palace master is, to be able to bewitch even my subordinate. You simply don't understand how powerful that palace master is. Donghuang Ji said in a deep voice. This man was definitely crazy, a madman. Yihua snorted coldly. Who does he think he is? Speak. Or die. Take your pick. Facing Yihua's threat, what else could Donghuang Ji do? He could only say, this is what a smart person should be. Even if I die, I will still release him. Even if I don't die, I will still have to release him. I might as well just stay alive. How good is it to be alive? As Donghuang Ji spoke of the truth, everyone was shocked. This Donghuang Baiji was actually so pitiful. Even the old patriarch and grand uncle wanted to obtain the bloodline, and even wanted to kill him. Simply too inhumane. As a member of the Donghuang clan, they all felt ashamed. Jiang Wuyu knew that it was over. That palace master is definitely going to come out. Damn it, I have to go back and make preparations immediately. If that palace master comes out, he will definitely kill all of us one by one. After Donghuang Ji finished speaking, he collapsed onto the ground, and his eyes became lifeless. Today was the day of humiliation for the entire Donghuang clan, and it was all because of this man and woman, stirring up trouble. Yihua was very satisfied and asked in a low voice, that palace master should be able to come out, right? 7 days later, the seal will be reinforced. End of this chapter. Chapter 1247. Before Donghuang Ji could finish speaking, Yihua said, that's right, even if you don't go, you will still be able to come out. Donghuang Ji. If that's the case, why didn't I say it just now? Right now, my face is on the ground, and I don't have the face to be the family master anymore. Don't run away these few days, if I find out that you ran away. Yihua gave him a death stare, then looked at Donghuang Baiji. After all, he is my blood-related little brother. If I really kill him, I won't be giving my wife any face. Don't look at how the Empress doesn't mind, but if I really kill him, I will feel a little emotional. After all, he is my blood-related little brother. Yihua brought Donghuang Baiji and the others and left. However, they didn't leave the East royal family, and instead chose another good place to stay. At the scene, Donghuang Ji didn't have the face to face everyone, and he directly disappeared from where he was, and went back to seclusion. However, Donghuang Ji's corpse was still there, and no one went to touch it. This old man is very bad, to even lay his hands on his own niece. This old man is simply shameless. He was directly slapped to death. What a good slap. The disciples slowly left, but what happened today had already spread to the other floors, and even some odd job workers knew about it. And those odd job workers spread the news one after another. Gossip will never be able to be hidden. Inside a broken temple in the 9 provinces and 5 seas, there were a few figures standing here, and 2 skeletons were very conspicuous. However, the 2 skeletons were standing behind a man, and that man was naturally Wei Chong. Wei Chong was a bit flirtatious. A strand of hair was naturally hanging down from his forehead, giving off a feeling of a prodigal son in love. The rigidity that he had in the past disappeared, and he became a playboy. Look at the folding fan in his hand. There are even words written on it. Flirtatious. Truly unique. The one standing at the side was the Imperial commander, Falling Dust. The woman behind him was precisely that ferocious drunken cry. There was also a stranger man. This man seemed a bit cold and didn't speak much. His eyes, there were dark circles around his eyes, or maybe it was smoky makeup, but it was still quite unique. At least the big sister likes this look. That golden nose ring was also very prominent, giving off a feeling that I want to hold on to it. Of course, that steel-like earring was also a bit rough. I'm really worried that the earring might get inflamed and become pustules. After all, that earring seems a bit rusty. Big brother. In any case, you should at least change it to a gold one. Why are you bringing a rusty one? However, this person's facial features were not bad. They made up for these flaws. If he wasn't good-looking, why would he do this? That must be a non-mainstream person. After all, that afro was very eye-catching. This was Lord Ming, whom Wanwan was infatuated with. That's right, his real name was Lord Ming. These people could be considered the main force of the imperishable shrine. Of course, there were also many underlings. The palace master should be breaking the seal soon. Falling Dust acted like a normal person. He held a tattered broom and spoke as he swept the floor. Drunken Cry, who stood at the back, did not say a word. She looked at everyone warily, as if she did not trust anyone. I'm really looking forward to the hall master's arrival. Wei Chong opened his arms as if he was going to hug the palace master. His worship was a little crazy. The death mage and death assassin who were standing at the back couldn't understand. Their thoughts were still there, but they couldn't disobey orders. As for why their master betrayed them, the death mage and death assassin were also very confused. Looking at this unfamiliar master in front of them, the two skeletons were also very confused. Humph! Putting on an act. Lord Ming snorted in disdain. Seeing that the two of them were going to quarrel with each other, Falling Dust hurriedly mediated. All right, are the two of you enemies? The two of you quarrel whenever you are together. Falling Dust. This is an outsider, and you actually recruited him. How do you know if he is truly relying on us? What if he is only pretending? Lord Ming questioned coldly. In his heart, he doesn't believe that Wei Chong joined us normally. Look at that exaggerated action of his. It looks so fake. Following Lord Ming's words, the two skeletons went into a daze. What Lord Ming said makes sense. Perhaps, Master is pretending to be relying on us to obtain information for his honor. While Master is so quick-witted. Lord Ming, Wei Chong is naturally loyal to the palace master. Could it be that the mark on his forehead doesn't prove anything? Falling Dust said helplessly. The mark on his forehead is an exclusive mark. As long as it is marked on his forehead, he will have to obey the palace master unconditionally. Lord Ming snorted coldly. Mark. To a powerful person, a mark is nothing. Lord Ming, are you questioning the palace master's strength? Falling Dust shouted angrily. The atmosphere between the two of them immediately froze, and it seemed like they were about to fight. At this time, Wei Chong laughed and said, Lords, the palace master is about to come out. Please calm down. I reckon that the palace master doesn't want to see the two of you arguing with each other, right? Humph. There is no need for you to pretend to be kind here. Lord Ming shouted in disdain. Lord Ming, I will report your actions to the palace master in detail. Do whatever you want. This fellow is a spy. I have already seen through him. Both of you will regret this. Lord Ming pointed at Wei Chong and shouted. Wei Chong held onto his forehead and said helplessly, Lord Ming, I don't seem to have provoked you. Why are you targeting me like this? I am targeting you? You are one of the 7 sins, Wei Chong. Do you think that I don't know you? I don't believe that you will betray us just like that. Wei Chong let out a long sigh. Sigh, you don't know how painful it is to work under his honor. You have to listen to him. If you don't listen, you will be scolded. Even if you do the right thing, you will still be scolded. You can only endure it. I have long been sick of this kind of life. So, I'm taking this opportunity to leave. TSK, you speak as if I will believe you. Lord Ming said in disdain. In any case, he didn't believe Wei Chang. However, Falling Dust still believed Wei Chang because he saw everything, but Lord Ming didn't see what happened. I believe that Wei Chang is loyal to the palace master. Lord Ming, you can shut up now. Humph. You will regret this. Lord Ming said coldly. Falling Dust revealed an apologetic look and looked at Wei Chang. Wei Chang expressed that he could understand. This kind of thing was very hard for others to accept. Alright, now let's talk about proper business. Falling Dust said gravely. Sweeping a glance at everyone, he said, the palace master is about to break the seal. Naturally, there will be no lack of killing. In this 9 provinces and 5 seas, I believe that everyone knows who sealed the palace master. At that time, the palace master will definitely kill that person. We will naturally follow the palace master and kill everyone. Let them know. The might of the imperishable shrine. Falling Dust's words were a bit hot-blooded, to the point that he was burning with passion. Drunken Cry, who was standing at the back, looked at Falling Dust's back, and a trace of tenderness appeared in his eyes. End of this chapter. Chapter 1248. Wei Chang asked curiously, when will the temple master appear? In a few days. Falling Dust said excitedly. The temple master was finally going to see the light of day. I'm so excited. I can finally see the temple master. What an honor. Wei Chang opened his arms again, as if he was going to hug the temple master. However, Lord Ming snorted coldly. Act. Keep acting. Falling Dust stopped talking. He was too lazy to speak. Wei Chang smiled and did not bother with him anymore. When are we going to welcome the temple master? Wei Chang asked curiously. Falling Dust smiled. In a few days, we will go together to welcome the temple master. I believe that with our strength, those family heads can only tremble in fear. Of course, we will be loyal to the temple master. Wei Chang acted cool again, extremely sincere. Lord Ming snorted coldly. You are really not suitable for acting. Only these idiots will believe you. Lord Ming, I dare you to say another word. Drunken Cry shouted. She actually scolded the imperial commander. Drunken Cry, don't think that you can do whatever you want just because Falling Dust is protecting you. Wei Chang smiled. Alright, we are all from the imperishable shrine. Stop arguing. If the temple master sees us being so disunited, he will not be happy. That's right. Wei Chang is right. We need to be united. Lord Ming, you better behave yourself. Falling Dust gave the final warning. Lord Ming snorted coldly and did not say another word. You will definitely regret it. You will not even know how you died. On the other side, Jiang Wuyu hurried back home to call for a meeting. His goal was for this matter. The East Emperor was dead. He was killed with a single slap. And that man's goal was to release the temple master. However, he did not seem to be from the imperishable shrine. But why would he release such a person? He really did not understand. Patriarch, from what you're saying, Supreme East Monarch will not appear this time? One of the elders asked in a low voice. Jiang Wuyu nodded. Yes, the East Emperor Pol will definitely not appear this time. Then the temple master will definitely appear again. When that time comes, the entire 9 states and 5 seas will be in danger. Then what should we do? Let's gather the other 2 families and kill that man. Are you stupid? He killed Dong Huang with a single slap, but if you go over, he will kill you with a single breath. Exactly. Then what do you think we should do? Are we supposed to wait for the hall master to come out and annihilate us one by one? Everyone quietened down when they heard this. Of course, it was the 4 great clans that were sealed. Based on the hall master's character, he would definitely take revenge on them one by one after he came out. Patriarch, what should we decide? There are only a few more days to reinforce the seal. We can't care about Dong Huang anymore. What we need to do now is to gather the strength of the other 2 families and prepare for the indestructible shrine. Jiang Wuyu didn't have any better ideas. There was no hope for the Dong Huang clan, and he didn't know which side the hall master would choose. If he directly went to the Eastern Royal clan, that would definitely be the best, but if he didn't go to the Eastern Royal clan, then it would be very troublesome. Patriarch, You have to hurry up. We don't have much time. Jiang Wuyu felt the same way. There was no time to lose. They had to quickly gather everyone. Within the Eastern Emperor clan, Yihua was currently chatting with Eastern Emperor Jishang. Oh, you are saying that the indestructible shrine was sealed by you all? In that case, if the hall master were to come out, he would definitely come and look for you all? Yihua asked. If nothing unexpected happens, that should be the case. That hall master is a person who will definitely take revenge. Eastern Emperor Jishang's expression wasn't very good. I am clearly in my own territory. Yet I feel as if I am being imprisoned, and I don't have any human rights at all. Seems like there is no need for me to go out and look for the hall master. They will naturally come over. Yihua laughed lightly. This is good too. I just have to wait for the hall master to come over. Of course, there is also Wei Chang. Eastern Emperor Jishang remained silent. This man in front of me is a madman. Even a madman wouldn't do something like this. If the hall master were to be released, countless lives would be lost, and countless people would die under his blade. At that time, corpses would be strewn everywhere, and it would be hell on earth. Don't be nervous, it is just a small matter. Yihua said lightly. He took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up, then looked at the night sky. Right at this moment, Qingya's voice sounded out in Yihua's mind. Hubby, where are you? Baiji and I are outside looking for Wei Chang. How are the two of you doing accompanying mother? Yihua asked lightly, and a trace of an arc could be seen on the corner of his mouth. Mother is very happy. We just came back from the Alps, and mother even went skiing. She is very happy. Hearing Qingya's tone, Yihua knew that mother was truly happy. Yihua himself felt gratified as well. Are you planning to come back after playing for a long time? At least for 1 to 2 months. Mother is very interested in this place, and she doesn't really want to go back anymore. After all, mother is staying in the palace, and mother has nowhere else to go. Yihua let out a light sigh. That's right. When mother is staying in the palace, she really doesn't want to go out at all. If I were to choose, I would definitely choose to stay on Earth as well. However, there are still a lot of things that I haven't finished here. Yihua, mother said that this place is pretty good. Qingya said in a low voice. Yihua said helplessly. This is what mother told you to say. Mother didn't want to tell you because she was afraid that you would get angry. It is more appropriate for me to tell you. Qingya smiled tenderly. Yihua pursed his lips. Wherever mother likes to stay, then let her stay. In any case, it is not that long to go back and forth. All right then, I will go and tell mother. Qingya laughed lightly. What is mother doing? Mother is dancing in the square. Yihua. That's right, Yihua. Did you manage to find Wei Chang? Qingya asked curiously. Yihua let out a deep sigh. Soon Qingsu is already settled. That's good. Pay attention to your safety, and pay more attention to the children too. Don't worry, I will keep an eye on the children's side, nothing will happen. And that's all then, I will be hanging up now. I'm hanging up. Yihua was clearly transmitting his voice, but he made it sound as if he was making a phone call. This is simply a phone call from a different plane. Yihua stood up and walked towards the house. Donghuang Jieshang was a bit confused. This man actually has a mother? Such a cold-blooded man, shouldn't he be an orphan? This is a bit ridiculous. Sigh. It's over. Donghuang Jieshang left with a look of despair on his face. That palace master's formidability is something that you will never be able to imagine. You have been released, but it is impossible for you to go back in. Furthermore, you will be tortured to death, and even you will not be able to escape. You are too careless. You are too careless, however, he doesn't listen to you at all. What else can you do? If you insist on going your own way, when the time comes, everyone will desert you. Brothers, next month is going to end soon. End of this chapter. Chapter 1249. After returning to the room, Yihua saw that Donghuang Baiji was currently in a daze. Baiji, what's wrong? Yihua muttered. Donghuang Baiji let out a deep sigh. I really want to leave this place, it's uncomfortable to stay here. Yihua patted onto Donghuang Baiji's head. We will return after a few more days. Just now, Chinya told me that mother likes Earth a lot and decided to temporarily live there. That's right, that place is indeed good. I also want to go back and live there. Donghuang Baiji said softly. Yihua nodded his head. How about this, after I finish dealing with the matters here, we will go back and live there. Aren't you going to conquer the world? Donghuang Baiji asked confusedly. Yihua said faintly. Let the children do this kind of thing. I am also a bit tired. It's better for me to live a peaceful life. Perhaps those few years of comfortable life affected me. Yihua, are you really planning to? Donghuang Baiji said with a trace of happiness. In actuality, she didn't like this kind of life either. Going back and opening a bar is also pretty good. Yihua laughed lightly. Although that kind of life wasn't passionate, it was still very peaceful. Donghuang Baiji seemed to be reminiscing about that kind of life. Then after you finish dealing with the matters here, we will go back together. Let's settle the matters in front of us first. Yihua's gaze became grave. That palace master's strength is definitely not ordinary, otherwise, Wei Chang wouldn't have betrayed us. In a few days' time, I might not only have to fight against the palace master, I might even have to fight against Wei Chang. Seems like I have to get serious too. I am a bit excited. After so many years, I can finally bring out my true strength. I am really looking forward to it in a few days' time. On the other side, Jiang Wuyu found the other two family heads and told them what happened. One of them was called Fu Wen, and the other was called Long Chu. The two of them were the strongest existences in the 9 provinces and 4 seas. After all, they were family heads, and their strength was unquestionable. They were both high gods. Fu Wen's expression was slightly grave as he said softly, There are still a few days before the seal ends. Can we save Donghuang Jishang? I'm afraid it's a little difficult. Long Chu said coldly. His whole person seemed a little cold, as if he wouldn't smile at anyone. Jiang Wuyu nodded and said, That's right. This man was able to kill Donghuang Ji with a single slap. His strength is not something we can fight against. If we go and ask for him, I'm afraid we won't die in the hands of the hall master, but in his hands. If that's the case, then we can only fight, Fu Wen said solemnly. After hearing that, the 3 of them remained silent. Fighting is no different from dying. But if they didn't fight, they would still die. There wasn't much of a difference between the two. Perhaps if the 3 of them worked together, they might have a sliver of hope. However, if they were to split up, there was no doubt that they would die. The 3 of them looked at each other and seemed to have made a decision. As the peak existences of this continent, if they didn't go up, who would? We need to be prepared, Jiang Wuyu said solemnly. Fu Wen and Long Chu nodded their heads. Let's go back and prepare. This is a life and death battle, Long Chu coldly said, and took the lead to disappear from the stone bench. Fu Wen nodded at Jiang Wuyu and disappeared from sight as well. Jiang Wuyu sighed deeply and looked at the sky. He knew that the hall master would come out one day. However, he didn't expect it to be so soon. These few days would probably be the most difficult days for the 3 of them. But there was nothing they could do should they run away. It wasn't that they didn't think about it. However, as a powerful being, they also had their dignity. Running away was out of the question. In a rocky hill in Tangzhou, there were all kinds of stones with strange shapes. But in a place like this, they didn't seem that important. However, these stones were indeed the key to sealing the hall master. They weren't ordinary stones. They were the stones that suppressed the hall master underground and prevented him from coming out. However, 3 figures stood on top of the rocks. These 3 people were naturally Jiang Wuyu, Long Chu, and Fu Wen. The weather today wasn't very good. It was drizzling, but for the 3 deities, the raindrops were evaporated by the strong airflow before they could even land on them. Although there are only 3 of us, we might as well give it a try. It would be even better if we could strengthen the seal, Long Chu said coldly. His tone was still calm and composed. After all, they weren't scared. Jiang Wuyu and Fu Wen nodded. Although they didn't believe it themselves, they still had to give it a try. If one looked down from the sky, they would see that the 3 people were standing at the edge of the spell formation. However, there was a corner that was empty. That was Donghuang Ji. It was a pity that he didn't come today. In the name of the heavens, bless the world. Might of the earth, suppress the evil soul. The three people raised their hands high and shouted with a strong aura. This reinforcement didn't come from their strength, but from the power of faith that the entire 9 provinces and 5 seas had for the 4 great families. However, there probably weren't many members of the Donghuang clan left now. When the news spread, everyone's impression of the Donghuang clan fell to the bottom. They didn't expect the Donghuang clan to be so evil that they raised their children like pigs and dogs. Yet, they actually respected them. What the hell? The 3 people also knew that even if Donghuang Ji came today, it wouldn't help. Along with the 3 people's shouts, a ray of light descended from the sky. The 3 people stared at the ray of light. They had seen it many times, but this time, it was clearly different. It wasn't as thick as before, it was much thinner, and even the color was much dimmer. The 3 people didn't expect that just one person missing would be so serious. The seal had at least decreased by 50%. Along with the injection of the ray of light, the surrounding stones started shining, but the aura that they were emitting was still very weak. Just as the 3 people were feeling helpless, a few figures suddenly appeared in the sky. These people were naturally Luo Qin, and Wei Chong was also among them. Jiang Wuyu looked over coldly and said gravely, "Indestructible Shrines people." Jiang family head, good eyesight, you guessed it correctly. Luo Qin laughed lightly. He didn't have any intention of stopping them, and allowed them to reinforce the seal. Fu Wen and Long Chu's expressions darkened. These people are all from Indestructible Shrine. Their strength is definitely not ordinary. What are you all trying to do? Fu Wen asked gravely. Luo Qin said faintly, nothing much. You all continue with what you are doing. We will wait here for the palace master to break through the seal. The 3 people didn't say anything after hearing what Luo Qin said. They looked at each other, and they could see the heaviness in each other's eyes. Just what are these people trying to do? Since they are already here, why aren't they making a move? After a while, all of the ray of light was injected into the seal. However, not only did the 3 people not feel happy, they became even more grave. Because the seal was only reinforced a little, it was very disadvantageous to the current situation. End of this chapter. You're tuning in to the Echoes of the Heart YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.